disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it, man.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
You just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. Yeah, because you got nothing. Lobito! Got nothing.
I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
Well. All right, welcome everybody to another beatboxing podcast broadcasting to you live from the True North. The host, good friend, Mr. BDA, and I'm glad that everybody could be on board for this one, fellas. Today we have a fantastic show for you because we have fantastic fights, at least on paper, coming up on Saturday, plus a whole bunch of drama circulating and swirling in the boxing world. As always, we're going to talk about that, plus more, taking your calls at the end of the hour. But before we get down to the fun, fellas, let's get the business out of the way. You guys know the drill. You can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and Spreaker at your leisure. Don't forget, you can send a couple of shekels our way with the super chat. That always helps. But it's always better to join the membership program. That way you get more bang for your buck. But the most important thing, and I gotta say it all the time, I can't say it enough. The most important thing is you continue to like, subscribe, and listen to the show. Spread that BDA gospel. There's a lot of uninitiated out there, a lot of heathens that need to be either corrected, and if they can't be corrected, well, we're not gonna talk about that here right now. But listen, fellas, thank you for being on. Really appreciate it. I want to give a big shout out to Mueller's27, CCD founder, Lil Joto, El Don Cholesterol. Come on, one of these names, man. Come on. Punchy, Never Sobers in the house, who joined the who became a BD member. Shout out to him. You're gonna realize though, it's not all perks though. Never Sobers. You gotta put in work, whether you clicked up or not. Shout out to Rafael Garza. Shout out to the Quags. Shout out to Jason Green, Pete G. Who else we got in here? Alfredo Contreras, Stagger, Lee Goods. Sounds like a blues player. Shout out to him. And Angel Macias, Team Batman Boxing in the house as well. Official Scorecard Boxing, Signs in the house as well. Shout out to him. Earl Stevens, Knockout Ned, Reverend Pickles, Epairokua, Virtuoso, Grim Reaper. Shout out to all those guys. Hold on a second. I'm missing somebody here. Eric Gomez says, Bomb Squad, Mr. BDA, since you didn't get me a Valentine's Day gift, can you make it up to me and yell Bomb Squad? Well, listen, I'll do you one better. I'll give you a big old personal shout out and I'll play one of my patented soundboard sound effects here for you.
He's not up there yet.
No. Okay, how about this one?
How dare you?
Okay, how about this one?
But this one had a kind of splendor to it, don't you think?
That's right, yeah, that was good.
This sort of thing is always rather grim. But this one had a kind of splendor to it, don't you think?
There you go. That's what I think of you, Eric Gomez. When I think of you, I think splendor. How about that? Ain't that better than the fucking Bomb Squad? All right, well, listen, fellas. We got a lot to talk to about, rather, a lot to get to. So let's get started. Let me invite a couple of people here. Start cooking with some spices. Make it spicy here. Hold on a second. Where are my contacts here? Because, like I said, there's a lot going on, guys. And we've been I've been AWOL for almost 2 weeks. So a lot of things piled up that we need to talk about. Usyk, Fury, Showtime, PBC, more proof coming out that the PBC doesn't know what the fuck they've been doing for the past 5-7 years. Hold on a second. I gotta add Jimmy to the equation here as well. There we go. And let's see if Bucho wants to drop by. Hold on a second. By the way, did you guys, they didn't do a open lines Friday, did they? Butcher did? Or was that another day? I forget. We got to keep doing those. We got to keep, especially as we get more and more fights coming along. Okay, Gonzalo's here. Gonzalo, are you there? Gonzalo. I think he's fixing up his microphone.
Really?
Yeah, can you hear me? All right, fantastic. Good to hear from you here. Now listen, we've got a fantastic fight, man, this Saturday. And this is the one we're going to start with because it's the one that's taking place earlier, I believe, from the UK, which is probably going to be the main event around 6 p.m. Eastern time here. We've got Maurico Lara versus Leigh Wood. Two guys that can punch. Lara is rated number 3, I believe, by Ring Magazine in the featherweight division. Leigh Wood is at number 6. He's had 2 good wins in the past 2 years. He beat up Zucan, dropped him, stopped him, and then he had that back and forth clobber knocker against Conlan, which ended with Conlan being knocked out of the ring unconscious. Just drama. Fellas, I'm just going to be the bearer of bad news here, or potentially bad news. In the past couple of weeks, we've had fights that on paper didn't look like they were going to be all that competitive. I'm talking about Turbia versus Yardy, Navarrete versus the New Zealand guy, Liam Smith versus Chris Eubank, O'Shaquie Foster versus Ray Vargas, which just took place this past Saturday. And on paper, those fights were like, okay, there's a clear favorite. But they turned out to be more competitive or actual upsets. Whereas this one, it looks like it's going to be 50-50 or close to 50-50 on paper and very good, very explosive. But I got the gosh darn feeling that Leigh Wood is going to try to box in this fight, or that something's going to happen where this fight might not be as competitive as it could be. Could you guys assuage my fears or dispel my fears? Tell me, is this going to be a good fight? Who wants to start out?
I think it'll be a good fight as long as it'll last. But I don't think that Leigh Wood, or how you say his name,
Leigh.
However,
Leigh.
no disrespect.
Wood.
Yeah, Leigh.
Yeah.
He's not really a great boxer as far as like, okay, I'm going to get on the back foot. I'm going to try to appoint this guy. He's just going to resort to what he kind of knows how to do. He's faced a lot of fighters with not so great records. About 6 fights ago, he fought a dude with 14 wins and 40 losses. And I mean, this guy, he got knocked out by Gavin McDonald, a dude that's got like 22% KO ratio. And yeah, he's a big dude. He's got long arms. He can try to hold Maurico Lara off. But in the end of the day, I think he's going to exchange because he is kind of tough, in the sense that he's big. I'm not going to call him a weight bully. But one thing that I have to say, with all his ruggedness, his chin is kind of questionable. Like I said, got knocked out by a dude with 22% KO ratio. And I know that the Irish dude that he fought, Conlan, yeah, he's got a 50% KO ratio. He's an Olympian. He knows how to box. He's pretty tough too. I think he got that knockout because Michael Conlan gassed out, really. But it'll be a good fight as long as it lasts. But I think that Maurico Lara's going to knock him out, man, like within 6 rounds. He's got a real good right hook. That right hook, and I was listening to his corner. I just watched the highlights. They said in Spanish, his corner said, okay, ahora ya cambiasla, now change it up. He was throwing a straight right. Then all of a sudden, he changed it up for a correction. He threw a straight left, and he changed it up for a right hook.
Which fighter are you referring to?
No.
Which fighter are you referring to, first of all?
This was... This is Maurico Lara versus what's the dude that got knocked out? Josh Warrington.
Warrington. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen.
It was a straight left and a right hook, I believe.
You know what, man?
So
to Lara's credit, though, he stopped Warrington and did it clean. Venado Lopez couldn't fucking stop Warrington, and he's a big puncher. Lopez is. So you get to give credit to Lara because one thing is hitting hard. The second thing is how do you deliver that power? Can you get that power across? Can you land your ordnance and get the job done? Lopez, did as well as he could have, especially in England or the UK, whatever it was, but couldn't get him out of there. Lara did. And like I said, did it cleanly. This guy, you don't want to get into exchanges with him because if he doesn't take you out, if you don't take him out, he's taking you out.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's got 25. He's got 25 fights. He's got 18 knockouts. I mean, he's lost twice and he's got a draw. So those two losses and then one draw take away from his percentage. He got 64% KO ratio, but those two losses. One was like when he first started his career, his very, very first fight, he lost. Then he got iced in one round in 2018. Then that draw wasn't really a draw. So, I mean, only 4 guys have gone the distance with him. And 2 of the guys that went the distance with him, out of those 4 guys that have only gone the distance, were 4-round fights. Then another was an 8-rounder and a 10-rounder.
Gonzalo,
so really, I mean, yeah.
He's 24 years old. So when he started his career 8 years ago,
he looks older.
I know, man. So he's been in the game since he was a teenager as a professional, like most Mexicans do. Chief, what do you think about this fight? Leigh Wood, I don't know how you say his name, versus Maurico Lara, 2 bona fide punchers. What's going to happen here?
I really don't know. This is one of those where I almost didn't answer the phone because I know I don't know enough about these guys. Haven't overly studied their careers or their technique. They haven't made my list of studying stuff yet because I'm behind. But I'm loving the build up, and I'm doing my research right now. Their records definitely show the fact that they do like to punch. The records don't show whether you like to fight off the back foot or not, but based off of everything I'm hearing and reading, very few times in the past when you'd have 2 good boxers, Obakar and Daryl Coley come to mind, both really good boxers. Everything went out the window. That went straight into a brawl. They didn't use very much movement at all, and they just kept trying to attack each other. When 2 punchers face each other, one person eventually, unless they're going to go for broke like Gotti Ward, one person usually accepts the role of, I'm not going to win the fight this way, and the fight alters. Now, I don't know enough about each one of these guys on who has got the capability of doing that, but unless they're going to stick to their guns and their style, one person's going to have to give, and I can't tell you which one it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting though, because it's puncher versus puncher. You live by the gun, you die by the gun. And this is going to be a shootout. I expect it. Although I asked this question to people on the Discord, and like I said, I hate to be the bearer of bad news or to knock on wood. I hope, no pun intended, but I hope this fight turns out to be as good as it is on paper. But I'm afraid that Leigh Wood is going to try to do the smart thing and the dumb thing for us fans, which is to start boxing and try to maybe get Lara to run into something. But Gonzalo, how much do you think your pick about Lara knocking out Wood is based on the fact that a lesser puncher in Conlon had Wood nearly out in their fight in the early rounds?
Oh yeah, man, and also like I mentioned, Gavin McDonald, 22% KO ratio. He stopped this dude, and so he doesn't really have a tough chin, I suspect. Mm-hmm. I mean, shit could change. I mean, one day you can't maybe take a punch, and the other day on a different night you probably can. But what I have to say, man, like freaking Maurico Lara, man, he hits really hard, dude. And I meant to say, now I remember, dude. You know what Maurico Lara's best punch is? His best punch is his lead hand, the left hook. It's his sweeping left hook, and he knows how to rearrange the distance on it. It's real quick. If Leigh Wood thinks that, I don't think he's a great boxer. So from the outside, maybe he has the advantage, but I don't think he's going to have the pop to keep Maurico Lara off of him. So if he tries to get inside his power to basically smother and take away the pop by staying close to Maurico Lara's chest, I think that's not gonna fare so well for him because he's got the longer arms. So there's the rate of return for a dude with long arms on the inside. It's a disadvantage because the dude with the shorter arms can thread the needle in between your punches. And I think Maurico Lara, he's got that lead left hook that's going to catch him, dude, because he's got a... Dude, I was thinking Ryan Garcia, and I was surprised. Ryan Garcia, oh, man, the lead left hook from Maurico Lara is deceptively quick. And like I said, his corner, when they said in Spanish, change it up when he was fighting a Conlon. He was throwing the straight right, then he changed it up with left hook. So he listened to the corner. And in tandem, when I heard him say that, the corner, he changed it up and knocked out... Correction. What's the guy that? Jeez, I keep forgetting the guy that headbutts. It's like real dirty.
Warrington.
Yeah, that combo. He switched it up. The straight right and the left hook. So that's what Mauricio Lara does. He can belt you with those two punches and mix them up, and he listens to his corner. I mean, the guy hits hard, dude. Like I'm saying, dude. Like only 4 guys that won the distance, and 2 were like 4 rounders. I mean, he's sponsored by a cement company. Pegazulejo Fortec, and it's not just like regular cement. It's a cement to stick the tiles on the shower. On the wall, so you know that motherfucker got hit hard if you're sticking tiles on the wall and then coming out. No.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, Gonzalo, may I introduce another side to this coin? Isn't Leigh Wood trained by the great Ben Davison still?
Oh, Ben Davidson, I'm not sure, but I mean, the dude's a good motivator.
That's a good plus right there, man. And even, you know what, it's a good plus because even if you lose, he's going to take you to the strip club right after. So he can tell all the strippers, do you know who I am? I'm Ben Davidson, mate. But listen, here's the other thing though, all kidding aside. Leigh Wood is 34 years old, so I'm thinking, okay, he's taking on a guy that's 10 years younger. If it's a battle of attrition, how's he going to hold up? He held up pretty well against Conlan. In fact, like you mentioned, Conlan ran out of gas. And it's not because he's got a shitty gas tank, it's in part because Leigh Wood made him lose gas. This guy is a force of nature, Leigh Wood. There was a point in that fight where he got hurt to the body. And then a couple of seconds later, I don't know where he got the energy from. He strung together like an 8-punch combo that backed Conlan into the ropes. This guy is a beast himself. So if it's a war of attrition, I don't think that 10-year difference is going to play that big a part, unless I'm mistaken. But here's the other thing, though, Gonzalo and Chief. I don't know if you guys remember, but the Lara fight, one of his last fights, which was, I think, on one of the Virgil Ortiz undercards, when he took on Emilio Sanchez. Emilio Sanchez went to fight. And he was tagging Lara with some good shots in there. He was catching it in between Lara's shots. And he actually hurt Lara to the body. Now, somebody in the chat, CCD founder, said Lara has a weak body. What do you think about that? Is a big puncher with a good chin like Lara susceptible to the body, as it often occurs?
Maybe. He's 24 years old, and he's probably led a rough life in Mexico City. I don't know, man. There's a lot of people there. This is one of the biggest cities in the world, and them fools are ruthless, man. Tepito and all them barrios over there. A lot of them fools, like I think a lot of them, when they're young, they're like, I can't say that they're criminals, like, because I don't know him. He's
yeah,
a boxer,
exactly.
But a lot of them inhale thinner. Like in plastic bags, and they drink. There's the champion. There's a champion now, a Mexican dude. They used to like be an alcoholic when he was 13 years old, and you said he's 24. Mauricio Lara looks like he's 30, so he's probably got some liver damage, as I can relate. You know, the liver regenerates and whatever, but I mean, what kind of life has he led on the past that his body's probably worse for wear? I mean, the power's there. I'm just suspecting that could be one of them things, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm just saying.
Well, you know what, man? Listen, I don't know what it tells us. I know it's just sound, it's just acoustics, but I don't know if you guys saw the what you call it, the press or workout, the open workout, media workout. This guy was hitting the pads, and he was just, going through the motions as people often do with the media workout. But man, you could feel his punches, man. You could hear them. You could hear the snap, the thud. It was just different from everybody else. Even the commentators, well, of course, they got to hype up the fight, but they're going like, oof, Madonna me. This guy can crack. He's just naturally heavy-handed. And if you don't believe it, forget the record. Look at his performances, how he lays people out. This guy can crack. So, man, it's going to be a good one, man. Gonzalo, you said 6-round Lara, right?
I think so, yeah. I'm just going to go with 6-round. He really turns into his left hook, the lead hand. He like spins into it. It's like a sweeping left hook. And he can take a little step back, and he can throw hooks with both hands. And he's got a good uppercut as well, powerful. So, I mean, if this guy's going to go hook for hook with them, the dude with the wider hooks is going to have he's going to have a longer distance, a higher heel. His rate of return is going to be a little bit slower. If he's going to fight him on the inside, if it's going to be like a toe-to-toe battle, the dude with the shorter arms is going to catch him in between. the longer man's hooks. And I think Leigh Wood, he's a tall dude. Does he have the power to neutralize him from the outside if he wants to keep him on the outside? He's got good power because he's big dude, 50%. But I'm thinking he doesn't have the boxing ability to just like keep moving like that. Maybe it's his warrior mentality as well.
Right. Well,
Not
we'll
so
see
much
what
his lack of ability.
We'll see what happens, man. I don't know who to pick. I really don't. I mean, actually, if I were pressed to, I would go with Lara. But I for some reason, I suspect Leigh Wood is going to try to throw a wrench in the works and going to try to box. And I don't think that's going to work out. I think at some point he will have to try to stand and trade. Or even if it doesn't work out, I think his better instincts, or his natural instincts, are going to be to stand and trade. And then we're going to see what happens. But Lara he can go crazy like he did against Sanchez. He has to keep his act together. And we'll see what happens. Shout out to Earl Stevens, by the way, for his contribution with the super chat. He says Lara has those Paisa construction worker hands. I don't know if he's ever worked construction. I'm pretty sure he must have at some point. Maybe with an uncle or something during the weekends or the summer vacations or whatever. But yeah, man, he's a bona fide puncher. That's for sure. That is for sure.
Yeah, he probably hangs out. He probably hangs outside the Home Depot. No BD.
Well, I don't know about that, man. But the fact
how they scoop them up in mobs of 10 or 15. Hey, come work on my house.
But you know what? Like Furioso always says, man, demolition job. I think both guys are looking to do a demolition job on one another or on the other. And that's what I'm expecting, man. I'm expecting a very good fight. And if that fight doesn't pan out the way we expected, we still get a banger over at, what is it? No, it's not The Zone. Hold on a second. Is it on Showtime? No, I think it's The Zone. Let me just double check here. February, yeah, okay, so it's two The Zone cards on the same day. And the one that's going to be taking place later on Saturday is going to be Luis Nery taking on the always tough Azat Hovhannisyan 12-rounder super bantamweight division. It's some sort of a WBC eliminator, apparently. This is going to be a good one, man, because Luis Nery, I've had my share of criticism about him in the past, about how he's failed to make weight, showed up with PEDs and shit like that. And then he got stopped by Brandon Figueroa, and I said, good for him. Now, hopefully he learns the lesson and takes it seriously. Who knows what's going to happen? Meanwhile, Azat Hovhannisyan, though, he's a good fighter. He's tough. He's big. He's experienced. He looks like, look at that face. That's the look of a guy whose ancestors survived many Holocausts, Armenian Holocaust, and this guy just doesn't give a fuck. You have to kill him to stop him, and it's going to be a good one. Gonzalo, what do you think about this fight? Do you think Luis Nery is in for a redemption story, or is Hovhannisyan going to be too much for him?
Hovhannisyan, he used to be champion, right? He's the guy that lost against Donaire.
He lost to Ray Vargas a while back.
Ray Vargas. Oh, I thought he was Donaire. Azat Hovhannisyan. He's Armenian, like Darchi I can't recall him. I can't remember his fights, but he's only lost one time.
He's only lost one time. No, excuse me. He's lost 3 times, but those were earlier on in his career. He's on I'm looking at his box rate here because I have to refresh my memory about how many fights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7-win fight streak. And I'm telling you, man, this guy's good. There was a video recently that somebody put on the Discord of him sparring Naoya Inoue. Now, of course, Inoue is smaller than him, but Hovhannisyan is really pressing him. And I'm telling you, this guy is a pro. I think he trains over at the Wild Card. I think he hails from the Wild Card. So he's not a scrub. He's a guy that knows how to fight. And Nery, though, I gotta tell you something about Nery, Gonzalo. This is a guy that cheated. And I used to like the guy. I said, oh shit, this guy's a puncher. He comes in and it's all action, which I can appreciate. But the fact that he was cutting corners leads me to believe that if push comes to shove, he's going to capitulate first. And Hovhannisyan is not the guy that's mentally weak. So I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen here. Really don't know what's going to happen. And not for nothing, too. But remember a couple of years ago, Nery struggling against a guy named Aaron Almeida? Or Alameda? It was a
Oh, yeah. I thought Alameda beat him.
Oh, really?
I thought he beat him. Yeah, he was looking like Eric Morales. Alameda. I think he was a southpaw, though.
Yes,
but,
he was, yeah.
Dude, he performed very, very well, man. I wonder. The other day I was thinking, what happened to that dude, man? Arona Alameda. I think he fought once, but ever since he like disappeared. I thought he lost that fight, BD.
Wow. Well, I'm telling you, man, though. So, yeah, that's the thing about Nery, though. He has a lot to prove to me, man. He has to prove that he does have the heart of a warrior, that if things don't go his way, he can still dig deep. And again, a guy that cuts corners that way, I don't know, man. I'm highly suspicious. So, and again, look, when he fought Figueroa, he got hit with a body shot. You get hit in the right button, no matter how much you want to get up. Sometimes you can't get up. But part of me believes or wonders, was it really that devastating a shot to the body, or did he just say, you know what, I can't keep up with this young warrior punching machine? And by the way, shout out to Michael Poe for his contribution.
He's a southpaw, right?
Nery, yeah, he's a southpaw.
Yeah, go ahead, really.
Yeah, just real quick, shout out to Michael Poe for his contribution with the super chat. He says, the other day, Recognize the Matrix left a message for somebody using his avatar. Yeah, that was him. That was him because he had the wrench. And he told Pete apparently that, hey, I'm going to contact you soon. So hopefully he's finding time to come back to the show, man. Shout out to Michael Poe for his contribution with the super chat. Always appreciated. Gonzalo, yes, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I can't remember the exchange, but how Nery got knocked out, but it was to the body. And I know he's a southpaw himself, so I mean, yeah, southpaw. He's got a hard left hand because that's your trail hand, the hand you write with, your most developed. So the left aligns with the liver, so he himself can crack to the liver. So if he was exchanging body punches with Figueroa, the only thing about a left-hander, it comes from the back, from behind. It's the trail hand. So it's not as easy to throw as like a right-hander would throw a liver shot with the lead hand. You kind of got to get in there. You kind of have to get in there and find the opening, and then your opponent's going to see that left hand coming. So maybe in one of those exchanges, he got caught too, because he had to really try to find a place to put that left hand on his opponent. Because I know Figueroa's a body puncher too, so I don't know if it's one of those things where he's got a weak liver. It's one of those things where you got to question his toughness, or basically he just got caught trying to look for his own left shot.
I tell you what, though, we want to find out the answer to that question. Hovhannisyan is the type of guy that's going to ask it. Believe me. So we'll see what happens there, man.
Come on, you gotta get in there.
That's how you sounded like earlier, by the way.
Get in there. Get in there.
You got to get in there. I mean, that's what you got to do. This is boxing. It's not a game. You got to dig down deep and show us what you get. Especially now, as we're going to talk about later on, some of the political side or communication side of the business, which is that boxing is in a bit of a bind here. Less and less networks are showing it. I mean, Showtime appears to be dropping out. Like I said, we're going to talk about that later. And so if you want to make it on TV as a boxer, you got to show us must-see TV. You can't just run around the ring, clinch, throw one punch at a time. So those are the two fights that we've got this Saturday coming up. Now, let me check here. Who's fighting on the undercard? In the native fight, Shane Mosley Jr. is fighting. Okay. Gerson Ortiz is fighting. Fantastic. And over in the UK, Dalton Smith. Okay, a bunch of domestic guys, I think, in the undercard. But anyway, listen, the main event, it's got to be fire, I think. And if anybody else want to say anything else about those fights before we move on to the next subject here?
The one last thing with the UK card, man, not just because I'm Mexican, but really, man, the English dudes always keep losing to those guys. It's a fact.
Oh, come on.
And they keep calling those guys back. I mean, Eddie Hearn. I mean, I don't know if what's the deal? I mean, yeah, it's the guy. He just beat Conlon, but dude, this dude's tough, man, and it's one of those things. I think they lose again. The English, the British.
Well, we'll see what happens, man. We will see what happens. These are all tough fighters, so you would expect that eventually they have to get themselves a win here. Hold on a second. I'm trying to close something here. Okay, so yeah, man. I mean, hey, by the way, like that though, somebody brought up a good point. They said this guy's best win was in a crowdless fight when he fought Warrington the first time. There was no crowd. So you think this time fighting in front of a bunch of people, because now they are going to let people in that stadium, you think that's going to change the dynamic a little bit?
I mean, depends. I don't know, man, but Could be. I mean, this is a local fight in England, so it favors the local fighter.
All right, well, we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. I told you, there is drama abound to be made here in this fight. So, guys, you stay tuned for this one. I'm a little skeptical, though, because the last time I told people that was Golovkin-Canelo, I said, no, this fight has to be good. I don't think it's going to be boring. And, I mean, it wasn't boring, but it was subpar compared to some of the previous fights we'd had, especially the second one between those guys. So, hopefully, these two fellas don't let me down and they produce the type of fireworks that we're all expecting. Now, let's go to something here very interesting. Again, they're talking about Fury versus Usyk. They're talking about Inoue versus Fulton. They're talking about Garcia versus Tank Davis and Lomachenko versus Devin Haney. But none of those fights seem to be finalized. And it's the same thing here with Usyk versus Fury. Apparently, there was a rumor that Fury had actually reached out to Wilder for a fourth fight, if you can believe that. Then Fury said, I don't want to do it in Saudi Arabia. I want to do it in the UK. And apparently that's where it's going to take place. Frank Warren said he's going to be meeting with Usyk's representatives. Where now apparently Usyk is saying, Usyk's side rather, is saying that anything less than a 50-50 split is unacceptable. And apparently it was pointed out to him that Fury is entitled to the bigger portion of the money because he's a significant draw in the UK. Whereas Usyk is mostly a road warrior. And so this is what Usyk's manager or handler, I forget which, had to say. He said, yeah, but how can you justify this? Just because he's English? Doesn't sound like a big justification. From the other side, Fury can say, okay, it doesn't matter to me who I'm fighting, whether it's Usyk or the man from the supermarket, I can still sell out Wembley Stadium. But come on, man, this is sports. It's not just about professional boxing. Go to Hollywood if you want to make that kind of money. If you're the king, you've got to prove it. Prove it against the guy with 3 belts. End quote. So that was the quote from. Can I tell you something? I slightly disagree with Usyk's handler, manager, whatever, whoever that guy was, because Fury has packed the arenas against White and against Chisora. I mean, that was a fight that none of us really wanted to see. Actually, let's be blunt, none of us wanted to see it. And yet he still managed to get a bunch of people in. I don't know if they scalped it, if they papered the room, whatever. But he seems to be a bigger name in the UK than Usyk is, despite the fact that Usyk has fought there in the past. So I think in this scenario, yeah, look, as long as they're not short-balling Usyk 70-30 or something ridiculous like that, I do think he deserves more money. But at the same time, this is show business. Whether you have 3 belts, 4 belts, all the belts, if you can't sell, how can you justify wanting 50-50? Am I wrong here, fellas? What do you think?
No, I think it's one of those situations, yeah, that it takes two to tango, and I don't care if you're like the lesser of a name. You fought Joshua and you got 3 belts, so it's for undisputed. People are gonna chime in to watch the undisputed match between the heavyweights because it's been a long time coming. It's like Caleb Plant. I mean, Caleb Plant was on Heralded, but he had that missing link. You know, the last piece of the puzzle. Well, now that's just an example, but Usyk, he got the 3 belts, and if you think if the sanctioning bodies are collecting a percentage of your check, I don't know how much it is, whether 5-10%, you got to pay 3 sanctioning bodies aside from plus taxes and all of that. You're gonna lose more than your coach and everything. You're gonna lose like 60% of your check, and if that dude's only cutting you 30%, he's fucking walking away with the lion's share. Oh yeah, because I'm England and I'm English and I got the what was the nameless belt that he always like said he had. The lineal title.
I mean, I don't know, man. But listen,
and the ring belt, he got that 1 belt, the WBC. But I mean, he's talking
Usyk's
about fighting Francis Ngannou. Come on, this is the guy, dude. This is the guy you're gonna prove to wrap up your legacy, because a lot of people want to see you retired because of your shenanigans. It's time to wrap it up. Okay, beat this guy, then sail off to the sunset. But then you also gotta make peace with that guy on the finances.
Right, because look, regardless of who deserves more money or whatever, I don't care at the end of the day. I want to see the fights. I want to see the fights happen as a boxing fan. And the fact that Fury, him and Haney, by the way, and we're going to get to Haney later on in the show, guys that are completely fucking annoying every time they negotiate. It's always one thing after the other. I understand why Fury... Look, I think Fury eventually is going to fight Usyk. But I understand why people hate him for all the shenanigans and all the hijinks that he's pushing and pulling in these negotiations. One day he wants to fight, the next he doesn't. The next day he's going to pull out. The next day, no, he's not going to pull out. He's going to be gentle and he's going to be, relaxing, economical, and it just stay there. Come on, man. Just make the gosh darn fucking fight. How much more money do you want? I mean, I don't know. Well, what do you guys? Anybody else? Chief and Jimmy's in here as well. Chief, Jimmy, what do you guys think about that?
I don't know if Chief has given his opinion on it yet. How long you guys been on? Did you start?
We started a half an hour ago.
Oh, okay.
Are you getting the messages?
Well, yeah, no. What's that, brother?
Are you getting the calls on Discord?
Yeah, no, I was actually busy. I was doing something outside. I didn't know. So, so when I came in, I heard it. So I checked actually when I came in, I saw that. So,
good.
But yeah, no, I agree 100%. Listen, Tyson isn't moving like someone who's confident. When a lot of these guys they're using an excuse that they don't think that they'll have the stage ready or the arena or whatever it is in Abu Dhabi or Dubai. Listen, they have slave labor come in. No, it's not slave labor. I'm just joking. But they have all kinds of immigrants come in. It's weird too. It's a weird setup. They can't even leave the grounds where they live. It's really terrible work conditions, but they bang this shit out. They make these places. They're not made to any kind of code. They're not meant to last. They'll kind of make these, but they've never missed a mark. And all of a sudden, they're not confident they could have this place ready in time. That's just ridiculous. Okay, I think honestly, I'm not to fucking play the fucking this route, but listen, Bob's a Jew. Bob is a radical Jew, a left hardcore radical anti. Very political Jew, and he doesn't like the Muslims, and I'm sure he doesn't like working with them because he knows the Muslims. I'm just telling you right now. Listen, he's always shit all over anything going there, right off the rip. He does. He just doesn't seem to want to work or have any fights over there. I mean, I don't think he's had a fight go over there. He's put him on in Africa. He's put him on all over the world, but I just don't think he wants to work with them. And I think Tyson Fury. Listen, Usyk. Because, like Bob did say, has signed everything. Whatever, yep, boom, boom, boom. By taking that fight out of Dubai, that cuts like probably 20% of Usyk's pay right off the top. Boom. So now you're robbing the dude his fucking money, and now you want to put it from Dubai where it's a neutral site, so it's fans are going to be fans. Who's going to show what guys in the Middle East are, fans of what? And then all of a sudden you're throwing it in fucking England. Like, I mean, why? Because you beat up because you beat Wilder 3 times. That's what you think you deserve that offer? Because I'll tell you right now, his 2 wins over Joshua obliterates your 3 wins over fucking or your 2.5 wins or whatever over Wilder. So this thing like you deserve it, or I think is a crock of shit. I think it should be 50-50. I think Usyk has earned the 50-50. And the bottom line is, do it, dude. You got the size, you got the length, you got the fucking everything, but now you want home field advantage, plus you want to take that dude's money away too? Like, fuck you, man. It's always something with this dude. And it's like he talks out of both sides of his face. I mean, honestly, I'm like critically like unaware of what's going on with this fight most of the time. It's only because I just recently in the last couple of days caught up, because I'll go weeks without even, if I see Tyson Fury, I don't even read it. I just fucking swing right by it, because it's always, it's like, wait a minute, that's completely contradicting what he said a month ago. And it just gets to the point where you're like, all right, dude, he's just a dude who fucking says shit for the sake of saying shit. And and that's that. And now about the Wilder, I just want to state real quick on this, because I'm going to throw my shoulder up, pat myself on the back.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that later. We got to go in order here.
Oh, well, you're planning on talking about Wilder? Okay, I was just going to make it a side note, but if you actually want to cover that, all right.
Save it for later. But by the way, so you're saying you feel that Fury is lacking confidence. You think he feels like he's got the jelly but not the roll. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think. Well, he knows it is a completely different animal than fucking fighting Wilder. Usyk isn't going to be there for his big fucking laying on bombs. If you go back, right, tell anybody in the fucking, even if you're a huge Fury fan, and I appreciate what he did to Wilder. I thought the third fight he looked like shit. He looked sloppy. He was breathing through his mouth. But because Wilder's a douchebag, the whole glove thing, man, out the window, and plus some other shit he said, whatever. But yes, he knows he's not going to put gloves on. Fucking when he was knocking out Wilder, like, did you see those punches? Go back and look at him. There was nothing set up. There was nothing like a counter. He was just beating down on a dude who doesn't have a great chin, who got rocked. Once you rock Wilder, like if you go back and see it, once he gets rocked, he gets frantic. He fucking he just doesn't do anything right. And then he starts breathing through his mouth. And then, Wilder was the one that, Fury caught him. But he's not going to be doing that to Usyk, so he's going to have to be on his bike, and he's going to have to be really boxing against the guy who's got proven great gas tank, who's still very active, up on his toes in the 12th round. You know what I mean? And he's going to be frustrated because he's not going to be able to land those big, because like a lot of those shots was right up on close on him. He was just, remember, like kind of almost punching him and pushing him down the side of the head at the same time because he was so on top of him. Usyk's not going to be there because Joshua, Wilder's probably Fury's a definitely better technical boxer, especially for a guy 6'9", actually, is very impressive. But Joshua's got probably just as fast covering distance, if not faster. And he couldn't pin him. I just think that he knows this is a much, much tougher fight for him. And if he's not bringing his A game or not living the boxer's life, because I'll tell you right now, Usyk's not banging rails. He's not getting shit-faced, flying around in his fucking Ferrari, But he's going to like bars and being the hero and shit. That's not what he's doing. He's a professional boxer, and he's going to come in shape. And especially now, I'm sure he's aggravated. He's probably going to want to really beat the fuck out of him. So I'm just saying, with the shit that's coming out of Tyson's mouth, and he's very aware of what's being said about him on social media. Clearly, even when he was in Bora Bora, the other side of the world, on vacation with his families, tweeting shit. Like, really, dude? And
remember, he knows.
He knows his fans. I'm sorry, bro.
He got pissed off. Remember, he got pissed off at that bodybuilder, the guy who takes it up the ass. Apparently, he called him out a little bit about why he was fighting Chisora or whatever, and then Fury blew up on the guy. Said, "I'm never gonna be doing your show again, Dasa." Remember that? That was last year.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Jim, are you saying Tyson Fury is afraid of Usyk?
Oh, no. Fear is not the word. It's not fair. It's not afraid of him. No boxer's afraid of anybody. You know what I mean? It's not fear. It's fear of doubts? Not seeing people. Doubts, exactly. Right now, like he could have, like, I don't personally think he's taking care of himself and training as hard as Usyk and doing all those other things necessary. And I just think that he doesn't want to lose because, listen, his fans, for as fanatical as Wilder's fans are, Fury's fans are just as fanatical. They just don't say, they don't say his dumb shit, or they don't try to promote lies. I haven't seen that aspect, but they're ardently fucking pro Fury, and they believe he could step back at any era and wipe the floor at any professional fighter, boxer, like in any era. I see him on Twitter. Muhammad Ali, he would fucking eat him alive. He was only 6'1". All the laughing emojis across the screen. So they, that's where he sees. And if he goes out and then loses to the fucking blown up cruiserweight, shoots right out of that fucking greatest of all time balloon. And then it is what you are. You're the fucking a big dude who moves excellent for a big guy, whose greatest accomplishments is boring the fucking dog shit out of me against Klitschko, the most boring fight I've ever seen in my life, hands down, and 3 wins.
So Tyson Fury's overhyped, basically. Are you saying Tyson Fury is hyped?
If he loses to Usyk, don't you think, and I'm asking you objectively, don't you believe that will be the fucking label most will put on him? Definitely not. Like the people who are on the fence about him or aren't his hardcore fans will be like, yeah, okay.
So you're not convinced he's that good? I mean, he's good. I think you think he's good, but you're not convinced he's that good.
I think he's great talent-wise for somebody 6'9". I've never seen a tall man get on his toes and move like that with the head movement shit. But he's so big that, remember, like, a lot of times people's greatest, strengths is also their weakness. And his greatest strength is his size. But that's a lot of size to be fucking carrying around. And remember Wilder caught him at the end of the first fucking fight when he was doing the up on his toes and he was boxing him. He wasn't trying to knock him out then. He was just, I'm going to outbox this dude like he knew he could. But the reason why that was too risky to do, because he's too big to carry that. He's not going to carry that through like fucking 12 rounds. And that's why Wilder was so confident going into the second fight he was going to starch him, because he knows eventually they get tired when they're that big. He's just not going to be able to stay away. So now you're going to move that in. Now, yeah. And now think about the difference in footwork, in punching selection with, Usyk. Different angles will come in. Yeah, brother.
I thought that Chisora, triangle theory, who knows? Sometimes I look into certain things. Not all the time, but don't you think that Chisora was giving Usyk a hard time just by being the marshmallow man? Just by being the marshmallow man and suffocating him with his big body size. Tyson Fury could rest the puck. He could just bend over. Not like that, but you know what I mean.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, lean his weight all over him.
He could lean down and rest his body, WWE style. He used to train with those.
The way to be able to do that is
just rest his body and just lean on his ass and fucking put all that pressure on the cruiserweight frame and just rest and get that dude tired.
But when he's not on the ropes, it's not like Usyk's going to be standing there and like Wilder, like punching into him. As he's coming forward, he's always going to be moving. He's never going to put himself against the ropes. So it's going to be very hard to be in that clinch. Like if they're clinching, and plus he's not a small dude and he's strong too. Usyk's got strong legs. And every fight he's had, and the longer he stays at this weight, the more acclimated he is. We're talking about when he stepped fresh into fucking heavyweight, wasn't used to the weight or the size, and I don't believe he even really tried that hard against Chisora. I totally believe he did enough. What he knew he had, he did enough. He fought him. It wasn't look like he was trying to knock him out. He fought him like he wanted to win. He knew in his mind, like, I did enough to win. I'm not going to do everything. I'm not going to look great because look what's happening now trying to make this fight. So I think he didn't want to look spectacular. He did what he had to do to win. But Fury, yes, leaning that big weight, again, that would be the thing that would stop Usyk. He would eventually slow him down, all that heavy weight on his legs. But I'm just saying, and I'm not even saying Fury won't look. Right? What's that, brother?
I think some of that happened with Wilder, too. Somebody was disagreeing with me, and I was like, nah, man, I thought he pressured Wilder. He pressured him. He came forward, barreling downhill like his trainer told him. He used an analogy, you're unstoppable when you're coming forward at 270. So, if this dude's come forward when he needs to and rests his body upon the smaller man when he needs to and boxes when he needs to, from the outside, he's not going to be as robotic as Joshua. So when he boxes when he needs to and does all the other stuff that I mentioned, he can navigate through the 12 rounds and win rounds. Joshua certainly did. He won maybe 4 or 5 rounds. The robotic man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And he even looked better in the second fight. I was very impressed with Joshua, actually, in the second fight. I thought he handled himself much better. But I think because, you know how, like, we talk about all the time, the downloading information the first 2 rounds, what they're trying to get the time and how they're moving. Because with someone like Usyk, he's too good to punch where he's at. You know this, Gonzalo. Like, he's one of them dudes, you're going to kind of have to punch to where he's going. His next move. He's not going to always come at you in the same thing. Like there's certain fighters, right? You see them, usually white guys, sluggish, like fucking Italians, just come in always the same rock to the shoulder, the same fucking cadence, and you read them, and they become like, okay, here we go. And you can punch between the punches so easily. Usyk's not that dude. So Tyson's going to have to, Fury's going to have to punch to where he believes he's going. And with Wilder, when you're that tall, like with Wilder, you have 2 zones you can fight good. It's always usually one zone you don't want to be in. With Wilder, it's out at the end of his punches. So you always want to be in close or really far away. And you had him beat. And he remember his attitude? Oh, I have to be good for 1 round or for 1 punch, 1 second of a round, not hitting a fucking speed bag. So he's not looking to set traps. He's just waiting for you to get tired. And I'm Fury, I'm not saying would lose. against Usyk. I'm not even saying Usyk will beat him, but I know Fury mentally in a fight game, like dude, it's so mental. If he's not 100% right in his head, he's not going to rush into this. And I think he's trying to gain every advantage.
I can see that,
what, Jimmy? You know what
yes.
You know what I also noticed about Alexander Usyk. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. But when it comes to styles mixed fights, something that you did well in another fight could certainly not play out in your favor in a different fight. Think of the Canelo arm punch against this guy, but then against Bivol it didn't work. This is what Usyk does. He parries a lot. He throws a lot of feints. He tries to find the angle. So once he gets like you said, download the information, he could take that angle and lace you with he'll cuff you with like these hooks, like kind of short, like turn into the hooks. Bam! It's a hard shot he got, but a lot of times he's throwing a lot of feints and he's parrying. Is he gonna be able to parry his way through against a 6'9" dude? That dude's got the long levers to parry with you and keep you on the outside all day. I don't know.
Well, in the first 6 rounds, yes, but I think it'd be hard to stay fresh. But anyway,
the thing about a reach is that even though Fury's 6'9", he could have shorter arms than Joshua, and so that part is something that would have to figure out later. So to Jimmy's points, my counterpoints to some of this is the person that's selling this fight is going to be Fury, regardless of where it's going to be. I love Usyk. He's a great fighter. He has a great personality. I like his character. I like his conviction, and he's not going to sell anything. His personality is not going to bring anybody outside of Ukraine and maybe Russia wanting to see him lose because of Russia, that whole thing going on over there. Aside from that, Fury's personality is what's selling this fight, regardless of where it is. So if he wants to have it in England, they're going to sell it out in England. If Saudi Arabia or wherever it's going to happen in the Middle East is going to put up huge money, that needs to be looked at. And like you said, Bob's going to sit there and say, hey, guess what? They're paying more money. They're paying us real money. We're going to go there. Bob has the right to say that as the promoter. So where the fight should take place is going to be who's going to put up the most money. And if Saudi Arabia's not going to put up the money, we know that it's going to sell it in England because, again, Fury is the reason why it's going to sell, not because of Usyk, as great as Usyk is.
Yeah, that's what
the
I
other
was...
counterpoints.
Go ahead.
One other counterpoint real quick, and I'll try and be a little faster. Joshua didn't have to find Usyk. There was not a lot of chess match in either one of those fights. Because, and in the middle rounds, when Usyk got a little tired, Joshua found him in both fights. And he was able to move forward. And so which fighter is going to wear out to the point where the other one's going to take the better advantage is the question. Because Usyk got tired in the middle of both of those fights. And he got tired because that size, even though he's getting more acclimated, that size isn't cruiserweight for him. He's a natural cruiserweight. He's not a natural 225, 230-pound man. It's not natural for him to carry that weight, fighting weight, in the ring. So if he slows down a bit, what is Fury going to do then? If Fury doesn't have the legs himself to move around like Jimmy hinted at, and he's right, he might wear out a little bit in the middle also. But if Usyk's not moving during those times, then that's when the thing that we all said Joshua needs to do to win, he didn't have it in him. Grab, maul, lean, elbow. Not elbow like throwing the elbow, but rubbing your gloves in his face and roughing him up like Duran used to do. Joshua doesn't know how to do any of that. Fury knows how to do all of it. And there's the caveat of where's this fight. Everything Jimmy said about Usyk is correct. But what we're overlooking is everything that Joshua needed to do to win, he didn't know how to do. Fury does know how to do. And he's got more size to do it with.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like the guy, sorry, Beauty, it's like, I'm just going to mention something real quick. It's like he can play Slapsy Maxi fucking Rosenblum from the outside, like with the long arms, like Perry, like just keep you a tap, like with the big, fucking Usyk is always trying to figure out how to come in. He doesn't always come in like that, like from 1 second to the other. Sometimes he takes rounds trying to see how I'm going to come in. And if Fury approaches the fight like he did against Klitschko, man, he's going to have a hard time fucking collapsing the pocket and finding an angle to land his punches. And like he has to eat also like 6 times a day to maintain the weight. That's a lot of stress on that body. I know the dude got hard, and he's like the guy that probably you would want to win. He's like the stoic dude. He's like the hero. And the other guy, I don't know so much. No, he's a big talker. But
he's a rapscallion. Yeah, he's a ruffian. Fury is the consequence. He's a ruffian. He's outside the ring. He's getting into fight with taxi cab drivers. He's doing like Jimmy said, rails or coke. That being said, look, listen. First of all, I got to read a couple of super chats here real quick. Shout out to it's JG. He says Jimmy is speaking the truth. Usyk holds the 3 of the straps, and he beat AJ twice here in England. Fury ran from AJ. All right, shout out to it's JG. That's one point of view right there, man. And it's certainly true that Fury never fought Joshua. Shout out to Plutonium Loach for his contribution with the super chat. He says, not on topic, but for the second Renaissance, you guys should invite Josh Turner on the show from the YouTube channel Paranormal Roundtable. He's very knowledgeable on the topic of Bigfoot and Dogman. All right, Plutonium Loach, shout out to you, man, and I'll certainly look into that, man. See if we can start getting some special guests on the show. We've already had special guests before, though. You know, guys like Jimmy and with that fact, you know, when we did Foca, amongst others, Shadow Band. So we'll certainly have more special guests. Shout out to Plutonium Loach for his contribution. I was going to say this, man. Gazello's absolutely right about Usyk. That he's sparring some monsters, some giants in there. And the way he's not only keeping up with them, but beating them and beating up giants in the professional ranks, it's skill and physical talent because he's quicker than most of them. But it's taking something out of him. It's not easy to do what he's doing. So it's got to be taking something out of him, one would assume. Number 2, I think Fury, some people have overrated him based on the Wilder wins, but also people have started to underrate him. Some people, I've heard people say, the White fight, that's not a good win. That's not a good win. People were saying that White deserves a shot at either Joshua again or a Fury type fighter because he's good, blah, blah, blah. Fury goes in there, and like he did, he's sort of holding. It was disgusting. But that's what you expect from the heavyweight division, unfortunately. And I tell you what, it wasn't a clinch that knocked White's ass out. It was an uppercut. So, I don't know, man. Yeah, on the one hand, yes, it's true. Usyk has to be found first. And I don't know if Fury is the type of guy to do it. On the other hand, Fury, even though he doesn't have the offense of Anthony Joshua, I think he's got better defense. Believe it or not. Even though he's not as well schooled, he's more herky-jerky. And with that size, that's got to play a factor. So I don't know, man. I haven't made my determination on the fight yet, but I'm expecting something tough to happen if the fight occurs. And by the way, hit the likes, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out.
And BDA, I guess Usyk said that right now he's only about 10 pounds heavier. He's about 10 pounds heavier than he used to walk around as a cruiserweight. So meaning like even when he's not fighting, he's heavier now because the muscle's starting to like last. Like he's put on muscle and Joshua, like if you look at like their legs, Fury's very top heavy. Fury keeps all his weight up top, and that's why probably he gets kind of tired. Because remember in the third Wilder fight, that motherfucker was guppying by the fucking 4th round or the end of the 3rd, mouth wide open. I mean, probably because he didn't take it as serious after the demolition he did in the 2nd fight.
Right.
But every year that he gets older, remember, how many guys you guys see walking around at 75, 80 years old at 6'9"?
That's true. That's a good point.
It doesn't happen. Almost never. Tall people like that die because their bodies give out. They're big. Like the same thing with big dogs. They just die at a younger age because their bodies just can't take all the pressure. So you age harder as a big dude. Smaller dudes live longer. So it's the same thing. Like his legs are very skinny, where Usyk has very big legs, and even Joshua said was surprised how strong he was. Like he grabbed him and he's like, "This dude is fucking strong." I bet you guaranteed Usyk can bench press more than fucking Fury. I bet my life on it just because of how tall Fury is. But squat more, bench more. Probably has been lifting weights pretty fucking religiously. He's got Lomachenko's old man as a strength and conditioning coach. You're not going to get much better than that. So I'm saying I don't leave I believe he's a true heavyweight now. He's just fighting monsters that we're not seeing, in our lifetime. I mean, guys, if you wrap your head around this, fucking Rocky Marciano, the heaviest he ever fought was 190. That was the heaviest he ever fought. You don't even need to think about it.
Well,
these guys are monsters now. Starting with probably that the black dude in the mid 2000s. Sorry, Chief, what you were saying?
No, you're absolutely right. But look at Usyk and you're saying he's fighting monsters and he looks small. He has the same dimensions as Muhammad Ali. He's not a small guy. These guys are just much bigger.
Exactly.
We thought that Lennox Lewis and Riddick Bowe were monsters at 6'4" and 6'5", but these guys are 6'6" to 6'9". I mean, Lennox Lewis is shorter than these guys. If that tells you,
crazy.
even if it's only by an inch, he's the short one here. When we're talking about Fury and Joshua and Wilder, he's the short guy. So it's not that Usyk's small. He's not by any means. I think, to be honest with you, of this era, obviously it's coming down to Usyk and Joshua. Not Usyk and Joshua. Usyk and Fury. And I think because of their skill set with their size, you could put them in any era and they would be successful. I'm not saying they beat or rule any era, but I just think that they're so big with their talent. They're not just big and what was that Russian's name? That Valuev.
Nikolai Valuev.
And Valuev would lose in almost any era because he just had nothing to go with his size. Fury's not like that. Fury's got skill to go with it. He can move around and do stuff. So people that think he would rule in any era, they might be mistaken, but he could compete in any era, and that's for sure. But Usyk could too, and he would also be big in most other eras outside of this one. Because look how big Ali looked compared to everybody he fought, other than George Foreman. He was taller and longer limbed than Sonny Liston. He was bigger than Frazier. He looked bigger than Norton because Norton fought out of a crouch. He was bigger than all the guys he fought in his first reign of Cooper and Doug Jones and Floyd Patterson, all those guys. Well, Usyk's the same size. So Usyk's not going to be small in any other era except for this one.
Well,
they didn't have cruiserweight back then, right?
No, they didn't.
No, cruiserweight didn't come out until the 80s if memory serves.
Yeah.
But you know what? David Haye was the guy who had, David Haye was a guy that was 6 feet 3 inches tall, not a small guy by any standards, and he had speed and all that. He could make it in the heavyweight division. I mean, look at the botch job he did against Klitschko, and he had to blame his pinky. Remember that he broke a toe or something? He's like, I broke my toe. That's why I couldn't knock his ass out. Like, the fuck out of here. But listen, hold on, real quick, man. The phone lines are open in case anybody wants to call in. Anyone who wants to call in, and then we have to move on from this subject because we got other things to get to. We'll talk more about this fight if it materializes. But yes, go ahead, Gonzalo. Final word on this one.
Yeah, you know what? I think this fight will be a chess match, man, and it's pretty even because they both have good footwork. We know that Usyk got good footwork. He got good footwork. He changes the angles. He pivots. He turns to the left or to the right, And Usyk, he's got a good. Fury. I was talking about Usyk, but Fury also got good footwork because he's got like this little stutter step where he goes in and out, and that stutter step. What that means is basically he's a pretty like a good master of the distance, especially for being so tall. He little stutter step back, a few inches forward. It's a game of inches. Sometimes your opponent will not land because he just falls short just a little bit, and you can tag him because you time him in the right distance yourself. So I mean, it's one of those things. It's going to be like a chess match. It's a pretty good fight, and I think it'll go the distance. And the guy with the better strategy is going to win.
Well, there you go. Might be as simple as that, man. You never know. Boxing can surprise us. All right, don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. It really helps us out. Let's go to the phone lines here. Let's go and let me see if everything's working out. 226, you're on the air. 226, what's on your mind?
Yeah, hello, fellas. How we doing? How's the show running? We good?
Oh, the Slugmeister in the house. What's up, man?
Hey, first of all, I just want to say that way you guys don't think I'm being a backstabbing, rat, cock-sucking piece of shit.
Oh.
So my credit card, hear me out. My credit card expired, so I opted for a new one to come in. Should be coming in the mail next week. I got the notification that all my subscriptions are on hold till I get the new one. So I don't want you to think I unsubscribe. I would never do that. I'd break the law before I fucking unsubscribe. You hear me, BD? I'd go out there and purposely break the law.
Slugger, as long as you call in, as long as you keep calling in and graces with your olive smooth voice, that's all I care about.
Oh, well, actually, the reason I called in, this is not normal. If you don't If you don't want to answer the question, I can leave. It's not a problem. I was wondering if you guys had advice for an amateur boxer on how to deal with a cheater that just comes forward and hugs you all day. Again, BD, if you don't want to answer, it's all good. I'll just get off. But long story short, I know a kid who got told he's going to fight this guy, and he's been watching footage, and the guy is just the worst boxer ever. He literally football tackles you and like just hugs you. It's impossible to box him. You can't outbox him. You can't even fight with him. So I don't know. Does any of you guys got advice for the kid, or should I fuck off?
Take a Cialis. Tell him to take a Cialis so he has a hard on. That's going to make it a lot more awkward to be clinched. Let me tell you, man. But anybody else got any advice?
Use your head.
No, I'm being serious because I figured at least Jimmy would help me out. Jimmy knows some pretty good shit, right? I'm being serious right now, guys. I'm not trolling. I'm being honest to that serious.
I am too. I'm telling you, use the head. Take the top of the head.
Slugger, I gotta go. I had to run outside for a minute. I didn't catch the last minute of what you said. I'm sorry.
You missed a doozy.
No, Jimmy.
Yeah, I had to go grab some tools out of the driveway. Sorry.
There's a kid There's a kid I know in the amateurs. They showed him footage of the guy that he's going to fight next month, and the guy, all he does is kind of like football tackle you. It's not even a clinch. It's literally a football tackle. He comes running from the other side of the ring just to fucking hug you, and you can't box him. You can't do nothing. The ref says nothing about it.
Sidestep.
Then after that,
move his leg out.
Your head.
Just bend at the waist. As he's charging him, all he has to do is stay at the last minute, just kind of pivot a little, but leave his, the leg that's leaving behind. So if he step into his left and his right leg, don't move the right leg, but the rest of your body. And so the guy will go head over tea kettle. Just keep tripping him. Have him shot, basically hip check him as he comes flying. That's all you got to do. If you see somebody charging you like that and they're going to pull a fucking porter, but like really come at you like that, just sidestep them, boom, and they go right over. Fucking, they'll do that a couple of times and they'll stop. Believe me.
That answer your question there, Slugger?
Yeah, that's what I figured. I figured you could do something like that, but yeah, that sounds good. But anyways, fellas, I'll see you guys, and BDA, I promise when I get my visa next week, I'll update my.
I don't listen. We don't care about that. That's not a priority for us. But anyway, I appreciate the gesture, and always good to hear from you, Slugger. Take it easy out there, all right?
All right, you two guys. See you. Peace.
Take it easy. Oh, there you go. That was some good advice. I think we all gave him good advice. Pete, you're sounding very low, man.
Oh boy.
That's right. He told me he had a new headset. He was all excited when he said it. Turns out it's a piece of shit.
Low or low testosterone?
What?
Low or low testosterone?
No. He sounds low. The volume of his headset's low. He just has to amp it up a little bit. Let's go to another phone call in the meantime. Let's go to 386. 386, you're on the air. 386. What's on your mind?
Yeah, what's up, bros? I want to talk about this Usyk Fury situation. I think it's first of all, how have you guys been?
Doing fantastic, Jackson. Hope you're doing fine as well, man.
Jackson, how you doing?
We're always doing well, Mr. Pete and Jimmy Gons. But I think this is embarrassing, truly. I mean, Fury, he needs to fight this guy. I mean, this could be one of the biggest fights in boxing. But the fact that, did you see John Fury's dad, say Francis Ngannou would be a tougher fight than, then why don't you fight Usyk then if he's such an easy fight? But they are deathly afraid of this guy. And I think Usyk, I don't know if Jimmy said it or somebody was saying it, he has a very strong lower body, almost like if you ever see a hockey player, we have very, very strong legs. And he has a very, very, strong calf muscles and everything with a very strong upper body. And he's going to dance circles around Fury, probably stop him late. And either way, he's going to tarnish the Fury legacy if he beats him. So I can never see Tyson Fury taking this fight, and it's very bad look on boxing, and it's almost kind of hard to watch still. It's hard to stay. Luckily for this show, the best show of all time, I wouldn't even probably be following boxing.
That's some high praise right there from the Jackson, the broski. Listen, Action Jackson, if I may be so bold as to say I have a feeling, and again, it's just a feeling, it's just my intuition, I think the fight's going to happen. I think Fury's just playing hardball. And again, I'm not saying it's not annoying. It certainly is, but I think the fight's going to happen, man. I don't think, like Jimmy and and Bucho were saying, I don't think he's scared of the guy. I just think he's maybe lacking a little confidence. He just wants to harangue and be able to piss Usyk off so that maybe, just maybe, he can get him off kilter during the fight.
Well, BDA, I admire your optimism a lot. You're more of an optimistic fellow than me, but how much hardball can you play? Because, like, how much money is in the Usyk fight? I mean, there's very good money in it, but it's not going to do way more than, like, the AJ fight. So, like, you can't. Is the main argument the Fury team is pointing out that they don't want to do 50-50? Is that, I don't know, I'm just kind of spitballing at that, but is that the main, what they're saying why the fight won't happen? Because Usyk wants 50-50?
Apparently, but I just want to clarify. The reason why Fury is doing all of this, it's not just for the money. Again, it's to try to get into Usyk's head. You got to keep in mind, Fury comes from those Irish travelers that fighting, and for them, it's you do whatever you can to win. I don't like it. I don't respect it all that much, but I'm just explaining that that's the way they operate. And I think Jimmy said it as well too, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to piss Usyk off so that he can maybe get this guy off his game for once in the ring. Anyway, it's increments. Even a small increment of change he thinks might play a part or be a large factor in the fight. And that's the way he's doing it, I believe. I could be wrong.
Well, you might be right, but so Fury, like, I've even heard about, like, a third, like, Fury's in talks with a third Wilder fight or a fourth Wilder fight or some crazy stuff. And you might be right, BD, and I really hope you are. And I think that's a dirty tactic as well. Like, get the win at all costs. But I just don't see the fight. I really hope it happens. But there's guys like, I hope Bivol and Better Be fight, and there is some good stuff that could happen in the sport. But when I look at Tyson Fury, he fought a washed-up Klitschko, and he fought he fought a Mr. Wilder 3 times. So I think he's overrated anyway. I think if you see him in there with Usyk, he will, the real Tyson, you'll see that he's not as skilled as, like, a Lennox Lewis or something. You know what I mean?
Well, we'll see what happens, man. Hopefully the fight happens.
Claimed to be.
Well, hopefully the fight happens, and hopefully I don't even think it's going to be that good a fight. I don't think aesthetically it's not going to be a good fight. So hopefully I'm wrong on that one. Right. But hopefully I'm wrong on that one. Hopefully we do see it, because we do need some finality in this division. Be that as it may, Action Jackson, we do have to move on. Anything else you want to say, though, before we move on?
No, just hope everybody's well. Always good talking to you guys, and definitely be listening. How long have you guys been going for? Because I just started listening. Are you guys ready to wrap up, or is it like
we still got a long way to go? We've been on for an hour, but we still got a long way to go, man. Long way. I got my news here that I got to get.
The show goes on.
The show goes on. Absolutely,
I love it.
The train keeps on rolling. All right, Action Jackson. Thank you for your call. Take it easy out there.
Be safe, Jackson.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but be well is good enough. Let's go to our phone call here. Let's go to 323.
Same thing.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. 323. 323. You're on the air. 323. What's on your mind?
Just woke up, bro.
Fellas, what's going on? Jimmy and Gonzalo and BDA, how's it going? It's Don Madrazo here. I guess what we have here is the mindfuck game. Who is better at mindfucking the other guy?
That's
because Usyk does it to people. He fucks with people, showing up with the Joker outfit and all that shit, staring down and laughing at people's faces, and Tyson Fury just does it in a way where it just pisses everybody off. Not like he doesn't just piss off the other fighter; he pisses like fans and everybody. So I guess it's just a question of who is mentally stronger. Obviously, it looks like Fury's threatened by Usyk, and shit, if I was Fury, I would be too. But this whole thing of fucking with the guy's purse that's just going to piss off more people. And I really don't think that Usyk's going to be susceptible to this kind of thing. I don't know what you guys think, but if you guys think that Usyk is susceptible to Fury's mind games.
Well, what do you guys think? Do you think Usyk is susceptible to the so-called mind fucking?
No.
No,
not like Klitschko. Remember how that fucked Klitschko all up? It really did, because that's just how he's built. Look at. They say if you listen to anybody talks about Usyk, he's a huge practical joker, right? He's a fucking wild man. You see all those weirdo faces he makes and shit. He doesn't give a fuck. Listen, that's a dude, and he's going. Wasn't he the one out of him and Loma who's going for his masters or something? I know he's got his bachelor's. He's a smart dude, and he's not gonna fucking dude. He just whatever. It's not gonna mean anything to him. And if you want to know who's emotionally and mentally stronger, I would say it was the guy who wasn't doing a kilo of coke and driving his Ferrari 200 miles an hour at a bridge embankment, saying I'm gonna kill myself. Who has children at home by his own admission. He's, you know what I'm saying? Right? He's like. So that's why I right away I think it's a very good point you make, bro, and that's why I give it to Usyk for mental strength.
Okay. On that note, both Klitschko brothers were PhD graduates too. They're also really smart guys, but Fury managed to get into Klitschko's head. I mean, I don't know. I personally don't think that Usyk is a weak mind. I think he's built up tougher stuff than Fury for sure. But there is something to be said about that argument, though, because Klitschko is surprising to a lot of people. He's a PhD, so is his brother. On the other note, BDA, you didn't play the Scarface track when Jimmy was talking about coke.
Yeah, I know I should have, man, but I don't have it here with me available. Oh shit! Hold on a second, we're having connection issues. Yeah, sorry, but yeah, we didn't have that theme available for the moment. But can I just say one thing about that? When you said he got into Klitschko's head, he certainly did get it. Limit. He certainly did get into Klitschko's head, but here's the difference, though. Here's the difference. Klitschko had been stopped numerous times before that. Usyk has never been in the same precarious situation. He seems to be one of the strongest, mentally strongest fighters out there, just by his training regimen alone. But the fact that in most of his fights that have been difficult, he's the one that ends the fight stronger and pushes it to the limit, no pun intended. So I understand what you're saying, that it's not just about whether you have a PhD or a master's degree that makes you invulnerable to trash talking, but I do think Usyk is caught from a sterner stuff than Vladimir Klitschko, and that's high praise indeed right there.
And real quick, my opinion on this too. I believe if they were to meet in the street. Oh, sorry, I didn't hear him talking.
Just keep going, Jimmy.
I was gonna say if they met in the street, Usyk and Klitschko, Usyk would fuck him up. Like you can tell he's like a tough dude. He's a street dude. He's a fighter. Klitschko's to me would just seem like big dudes who were, and especially in the beginning. Remember they were getting starched and knocked out, and even at the end, he didn't like getting punched. Remember the best fight he ever had when he was 41 years old. He showed that, like, get up off the canvas toughness. Like that never seemed to be there before. And I'm not taking away from his long career and shit, but I believe Usyk's more of a fighter.
Yeah, Vladimir, yes. Vitaly, no. Vitaly could hold his own against Usyk. Vitaly knew how to fight multiple styles.
I don't know much about Vitaly, I'll be honest with you, bro.
He was a kickboxer, an MMA fighter, and a professional, and a three-time world boxer. He knew how to fight.
Yeah, who was the guy that got him? The middleweight, the one that was on the show, BDA? He's similar. The guy that turned vegan, he was a champion Olympic guy. Was he a gold medalist?
Chris Bird.
Vitaly, that would have been interesting. Chris Bird. Yeah, you know what? I think they're both mentally tough. They're both crazy. Like Muhammad Ali was crazy in the head. He was intelligent. Fucking Fury, he's a madman too. They're both maniacs. You could also see it in Usyk's eyes. And Usyk showed good resiliency when he fought the Swedish dude. When he got that big cut that they put together in the corner, he made it out of that one.
That's true.
Been off the canvas a few times
That's
too.
True, but Gonzalo
and what else? He came back from being fat.
They let that fight go on longer than it should have. to be fair, they let that fight go longer than it should have. That fight, if it was anybody else, it would have been stopped. I mean, you got to agree with me on that one, because that was, they shouldn't have let Fury fight with that eye like that. But if it was anyone else, they would have stopped it.
Well, to the caller's point, Vitaly was ahead and defending himself, and Lewis was not coming on. Lewis spent his last load and collapsed in the corner, and they saved Lewis that night to possibly put on pay-per-view later because of Vitaly's cut. So if they would have given Vitaly the same chance they gave Fury in that fight, I'm not going to say who definitely would have won, but we would have seen the fact he would have had a chance to prove us right or wrong. So the caller's correct. In other fights, those kind of cuts have been stopped.
Well, listen, Don Marcos.
I mean,
go ahead, Don Marcos, because then we got to move on, man.
All right. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it. You guys take care.
All right, take it easy, Don Marcos. Thank you for your call, man. Yeah, man. I mean, that's a fight. We're gonna see what happens there with those guys if they fight. I do think they're gonna fight. I got a feeling. That's all I've got. It's a feeling, but you gotta hold on to the feeling because I don't think. Look, Fury did fight Wilder. He fought Klitschko. He fought. What was that? I can't hear you, Pete. What the fuck?
God damn.
Yeah. Well, actually, okay.
No.
Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna boost your volume, but you guys, everybody else on the Discord, you have to boost his volume too. Otherwise, you're gonna hear him low. All right. So I'm just telling you right off the bat. Just right-click on his icon, and just drag that user volume a little bit more to the right. Go ahead, Pete. I think now I will be able to hear you better.
Give me a boost. Give me a little boost here. Come on.
I'm giving you the biggest boost I've got.
Thank you, buddy. Hey, Fury's gonna beat us. I mean, Usyk's gonna beat Fury's ass, and Fury knows it. He's got him covered athletically. I don't know about PhDs, but you know, Usyk's a mentally strong guy. He's up there playing with the Rubik's Cube during the press conferences, and he's a sportsman. I don't think he's like a street fighter. He's just a sportsman about it. If he loses, he loses. But what's Fury got? What's Fury got to show you that he's going to give Usyk a better fight than Joshua did in the second fight? He's not going to go to the body like that, which is what you're going to have to do. He's got more weight. He's got more weight on him. But how's he going to put it on? How's he going to catch up to Usyk to lay on him to use that weight? Chisora couldn't do it.
No, but Joshua could have. He just doesn't have it in his mentality to do so. Back when Precise was on, he was the one that pointed that out, and he was completely right. We're expecting Joshua to do something he doesn't know how to do. Lean on him and in the middle rounds, and I've already said this once in the show, that Usyk was there to be grabbed and leaned on. Joshua just has no mental capacity to be able to put that kind of thought pattern together. Fury does. So
I thought he fought a great fight. I thought he fought a great fight in the second fight, AJ. I thought he went to the body. I thought he attacked the body hard. He was throwing bombs on Usyk's body, uppercuts right to the solar plex. I mean, he fought a great fucking fight.
Fury doesn't throw as many of those, and you're completely right there. But when Usyk gets tired in the middle rounds, which he did in both fights. When I mean by tired, I don't mean like starting to breathe through the mouth and looking sluggish. It just means his activity is going to go down because he's not going to have the energy because this is just not his weight class. He's getting in better shape. He's getting stronger. There's a lot of pluses that are coming. One thing we're also overlooking, he's getting older. He had a long amateur career, and he's closing in on 37, 38 years old. So when you put these factors into play, and he's going to possibly slow down a little bit in the middle rounds like he did in the other two biggest fights he had at heavyweight against a guy not nearly as physical as AJ. That's the caveat. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm not saying that's where you're wrong. But this is what Fury can do that AJ can't. That was your original question. What's he going to do that AJ couldn't? That's exactly what he can do and the time he can do it in. Whether he does it or not remains to be seen. And whether Usyk is already wary of that because he's that much smarter than everybody else in the heavyweight division and prepares for that remains to be seen. But what can Fury do that AJ couldn't is exactly that. Middle rounds, they get tired. He's not doing as much. They get in close, lean on him, mug him. AJ couldn't do it. Fury can.
Yeah.
He's not going to be there to be mugged. That's my point. His footwork is at such a different level than
because he stood in front of AJ most of the fight. Well, the only time he moved is if AJ over got way too close for him to be comfortable. But he didn't use this big movement all the way around the ring the whole fight. He did, especially in the middle rounds. He stood still. When he stands still, that's where it's going to happen.
Yeah, James Toney was awesome at that. You know that, dude. You're a fan of the old school stuff. Yeah, like you don't have to like Lomachenko. Excellent at movement, but he sometimes a lot of his movement stays right in the pocket. Like Usyk doesn't have to wind all the way out and stuff. He'll just do his movement, and when he takes rounds off in the middle of the ring, like usually the weight, he'll take a couple off. Then, and by taking off, his output goes way down. He's not trying to be the ring general, but he still stays defensively sound. Like in those rounds, Joshua was still not able to land anything significant. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Everything was off the glove. Because he still had enough, because he just, obviously saving, that's a big difference on winging those punches. That's where it all gets sucked out of you. So when he takes a couple of rounds off and just throws sparingly, but he definitely does slow down those middle rounds. So that way in the 12th round, he's bouncing around on his fucking toes, not breathing through his mouth. And that's, I think, frustrated Joshua a little too. He was like pissed, like, damn, that motherfucker's still going.
Joshua, he's got good delivery. His mechanics, when he throws an uppercut, when he throws a right hand, oh man, technically that's like a nice punch to even look at. The delivery's there, but the word mechanical, it looks good, it's effective, but he's kind of mechanical, robotic in a sense. When it comes to the fluidity, Fury's different, man. Just the size alone it means that he don't even have to put that much on his punches. Just keep him away. Don't do too much. In the heavyweights, how many things can Usyk do where, if he tries to do too many, it's going to be like risky.
Well, we'll see what happens, man.
Listen, too, right? Oh, all right, go, BJ.
Yeah, because Jimmy, we got to move on from this, man, but because otherwise we're going to be here all night. But hopefully, listen, we'll talk about this fight more if it materializes, or even if it doesn't materialize yet. Like I see, we people have a lot to say, so we'll certainly go back to that at some point. But don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. And we got some phone calls here that we got to get to. So let's go to 619. 619, you're on the air. 619, what's on your mind?
Can you hear me?
Yes, 619, you're on the air. What's on your mind?
Hello? Yes, I'm Cyrus from the Philippines. How are you guys?
Doing fantastic. Good to hear from you, Cyrus. What's up, man?
Yes, I actually just have 2 points on this fight. First, I really want the fight to happen because it's going to be big for boxing, undisputed for the heavyweight. But I just wanted to ask you guys a question. Except for Fury's size with a fight with Usyk, do you think that he's a more skilled and more dynamic boxer than Usyk?
Who wants to answer that one?
No.
What's the question again?
Despite the size, do you think Fury is more skilled?
For example, except for his advantage in size, is Fury more skilled than Usyk in terms of pure boxing alone?
No, Usyk's definitely more skilled. I think Fury's more skilled than most people want to give him credit for due to his size. They think he's clumsy and he's not. But if they were the exact same size, I think you would see Usyk do a lot more. He wouldn't have to conserve as much energy because he wouldn't have to worry about the size difference leaning on him and wearing him out.
Yeah, and it's due to athleticism too. Usyk is just a better athlete.
I beg your pardon? Usyk is just a better athlete?
Yes, that's what he said.
Yes, it's the athletic build too. I mean, just look at his frame. Look at the way Fury's built. I mean, it looks like kind of a fucking top. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually agree with that Usyk is a better athlete. And the reason why I asked if Fury is a better boxer than Usyk is because in certain circles, I'm kind of a lurker in several channels. I always listen to technical breakdowns of fights. I usually just listen to Fury and Usyk who's going to win. It's always Fury's size that is talked about in terms of what his advantages are against Usyk. And I really think, I want to comment with the previous caller, what he mentioned about Usyk is going to be there when he, like for example, if he takes off a couple of minutes during, say, in the middle rounds, I really think that Usyk will adjust and put a game plan in and not going to be in front of Fury all the time to get leaned on in because he's going to make an adjustment before the fight, and I think that he's going to make an adjustment in the middle of the fight in order for him not to be worn out. But I really think that this is going to be a really interesting fight. But I really just hope it happens because it's going to be good for boxing in general. So that's just my point. Thank you for taking the call.
Well, thank you for calling in, Cyrus, and hopefully all is well over there, and hopefully we get the fight, man. Thank you for your call. Call back next time, all right, man? Take it easy out there.
You're welcome. Yeah, bye.
All right, that was Cyrus from the Philippines. Hopefully he wasn't getting charged up to wazoo with that call. Let's go to another phone call.
See you later.
Cyrus the virus. Let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 773. 773, you're on the air. 773, what's on your mind?
I like how he said he lurks around other shows.
Yeah. Go ahead, 773.
Just a big cope session. Just a major cope session over there. Talking about Fury. He hasn't seen, Usyk hasn't seen Fury. It's a whole different ball game when you step in there with Fury. Listen, Fury hasn't fought someone like Usyk. The talent level at these lighter weights are always light years ahead of the bigger weights. Big weights, yeah, they got power, but the speed, the agility, the technique that the smaller guys possess is always light years ahead. So this idea that the physicality and blah blah blah, Usyk, he's gonna dance around them. That's what footwork is. That's what footwork's for.
Right, which he hasn't shown at heavyweight so far. Because he hasn't had to. No one's really pressed him like that aside from Chisora. AJ, when he actually pressed him, made him get tired in the middle of the rounds. Now we're talking about a bigger guy that can move better, that's actually going to want to get inside. Whereas Fury,
Fury
didn't want to.
Fury doesn't bum rush people. Fury doesn't bum rush people. He kind of plots forward and he's like slowly plots forward.
But he doesn't plod slowly.
Yeah, but
because he doesn't move
Usyk's going to be way too quick. To beat someone like Usyk, you got to be having.
Hold on, one at a time, One at a time, first.
Shut up!
There's a delay.
I heard you talk for hours, kid.
Hold on.
Talk, all right?
Hold on. There's a delay between. There's a delay between the callers and the Discord, fellas. All right, so please let
go ahead,
K-Dog. Yeah, K-Dog, go ahead.
Thank you.
All right, so this is the problem. The physicality is not going to be an issue because the footwork. That's what it's all about. Usyk has impeccable footwork. I don't know if that's a word. Impeccable? Immaculate?
Impeccable is a word, yes.
He's got great footwork, okay? So he's going to use that. This idea that Fury, he's going to walk forward and rough him up with his physicality, I just don't see it. I think he has a better chance at staying at the outside and using a reach advantage. See, that's his best bet to win. It's use his reach advantage, his long ass arms, and just trying to jab his way to a decision. That's his best bet. If he tries to come in with his little drooping his arms over, he likes to droop his arms over guys and use his weight to drain them. Usyk is not going to allow that. His footwork is going to skate around, get back to the center, and start picking you apart. The best bet to be able to use a size advantage, you got to have explosive power to come forward and explode and try to catch him off guard. Because with Tyson's style, it's a plotting, slow advancement that is not going to work. That's just not going to work at all. But
all right,
I'll let you guys respond to that before my last point. Respond to that, and I got one more point.
Okay, well, he's not slow and plotting. He's big, and it almost looks clumsy until it doesn't. It's hard. He's an anomaly being 6'9", still being that coordinated and that heavy. He's not going to come forward slow plotting and just walk right in on him. And then nobody on this panel, including me, has said that that's going to happen. He will use punches to set it up. He'll move around the ring. He'll use until they both get tired, because they're both going to fade in the middle of rounds, like both of them have shown at the highest level in the heavyweight division in all of their fights so far. When that happens, if Usyk can still use this skating ability that you say he hasn't overly demonstrated at heavyweight, then yeah, he will stay out of the way. But if not, when they get in close, whereas Joshua stood and looked and stared, Fury's not going to. And he knows how to close in the distance with or without punches. And when he leans almost 300 pounds onto the smaller guy, we'll see if the legs hold up. Now, Jimmy talked about how strong his legs are, and I'm not going to argue that. And I know he's physically fit. I know he's mentally tough. The question is, the fact is, he's never had anybody that big moving him around. And when he leans on him, it's not just going to be leaning. He's going to mug him. Now, can Usyk outthink the mugging is the question. And we think he can, but he's never faced anyone that's ever tried or that's able to do so. So these are the questions that need to be answered. I'm not saying anything you're saying is completely wrong, but no one is considering the other fact of what Fury knows how to do that Joshua could not do. And the opportunities for Joshua to do it were there. He just didn't know how to, and Fury does.
All right, Kevin, go ahead, man.
Listen. Joshua, you keep bringing up Joshua. Usyk has fought 10 times the fighter that Joshua is in the cruiserweight. Gassiev, bunch of cruiserweight fighters he's fought that are way better than Joshua. You keep bringing up Joshua, the big plumped-up bodybuilder. That's not a good comparison. I don't know why you keep bringing him up. That makes no sense. I will say this, though. I was watching the UFC event last week. Volkanovski versus Islam. Huge fight. Great fight. Two of the best pound for pound going at it. Something boxing can take a look at. But I was just ashamed that they didn't give it to Volkanovski in his home country with a fight like that. 3-1 underdog, and they didn't give him the nod. The judges didn't give him the scorecard. It's crazy. I was just thinking in boxing, they would have scored it freaking 10-3 or 10-2. It would have been a wipeout. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing for MMA or a bad thing. In my opinion, it's a little bit of a bad thing. You got to give him that decision in his home country. The way he performed in boxing, they would have did the right thing and gave the hometown guy the decision. Performing like that and all the obstacles, expectations, they would have given the decision. I want to get your guys' thoughts on that before I head out. Leave you guys to it. Have a good one.
Thank you for your call, K-Dog.
I was going to say, I made it this long until right now, because I pay for ESPN Plus, right, like a lot of people probably do, so I get the pay-per-views a few weeks after they go off. I can watch them for free. I don't pay for the fucking MMA, so I didn't know who won that fight. I was looking forward to it until K-Dog just blew it up for me. That's
sorry about that, man. Sorry about that. I don't think he knew that you were in that situation. I mean, I didn't even know you watch UFC or that you started watching MMA. So
no, I started watching it. I've been really getting into it because the fights are so much better.
Yeah, I'm getting the feel.
Well, competition. I like boxing better, but I like to see guys evenly matched, and we don't see that in boxing. There's too many whitewashes, too many predetermined decisions going in, and I fucking hate that. And I like in MMA, anybody can win if they both train hard.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I was going to throw something in there towards what K-Dog mentioned about slow and plotting. The guy's 270. He's not going to bounce unnecessarily when he don't need to. He's not going to be a bunny rabbit in there. Of course, you don't want to do that. But when you need to do that little stutter step and get the distance and get the timing on your long punches, he does it when he needs to. He does it economically. He does it effectively. And of course, you're 270. You're not going to be jumping around like a fucking bunny rabbit. He ain't Keith Thurman, for God's sake, right? Or Manny Pacquiao. He's a big dude.
He's going to come in? Do you think he's going to come in at 270 or as heavy as he did against Wilder? I would think it's smart. If he was smart, he would come in definitely lighter than that because, you know what I mean? It's just, I would think he'd want the movement. Because here's the thing, right, though, with Fury, when he's a knockout, when he goes for his knockout style, again, it's completely different than the style he fought for his entire career. Because going into the Wilder fight, remember what Wilder was publicly saying about him? Calling him pillow-fisted because he had, a low knockout ratio. Because when he's fighting on that up on his toes, jabbing, using his length, he's not really a big puncher in that. So when he wants to hurt somebody, he kind of changes up a little. So can he learn to start putting more weight in that other style? I'm curious to see that because it would be harder for Usyk to get in that style, say the style he fought, like you said, Gonzalo against Klitschko. It'll be hard for him to get in. He'll have to try to punch between his punches. And again, I would imagine body attack. He would have to jab a lot to the body, try to bring the arms down. But Yeah, that would be. Or is he going to go after the Wilder style? I'm just going to go in there and fucking take this dude out, mug him. I don't think that would be smart. That style.
You know,
At least
when I
the
mentioned
first few rounds.
you know when I mentioned that Usyk parries a lot, and it might not work so well for him this fight, because if you think about the open glove thing with Tyson Fury, I mean the glove weight, how many ounces for heavyweight? I think 12, right? So for that size of a hand, of course, you know, the padding's going to be spread out to a bigger surface, so therefore it's going to be thinner. Therefore, the glove is going to be more floppy. But what I'm saying by the floppy glove and the whole thing that he's big, when he opens his hands, the dude's kind of playing with you with the glove have open. He can kind of line you up, slap you to the left, slap you to the right, push you back, kind of like use that as a flagpole and get further distance on the fingers to pinpoint where you're at and control you. So when Usyk does a lot of the jostling and fucking trying to parry with you to try to get in, that's what Fury does so well. And it could be like not taking so like. I think we should pay attention to. Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just thinking that can be key, where it can go unnoticed. Something as simple as that.
Fellas, we gotta move on. I mean, because we got another phone call here. Let's go to 914 here. 914, what's on your mind?
What's up, BDA? What's up, Gonzalo? What's up, Jimmy?
What's up, man?
What's up, buddy?
Fernando from the New York. What's up, man?
Yeah, I mean, you guys have a great channel here. I don't know why some people want to hop on the channel and kind of disrespect, you know, because you guys put in a lot of work. It's not easy being in, like, you guys talk more about the technical analysis, the physicality. Some channels just focus on the politics, but nevertheless, I don't understand why people call it disrespect. To me, it makes no sense.
Well, I haven't heard anybody disrespect us. They wouldn't dare. They wouldn't dare, Fernando. They just wouldn't dare. Well, what's up, man?
Well, I thought to agree with Fernando, I thought what he said to like Chief was a little silly, saying like you're bringing up Joshua. Well, of course he is, because that's who he fought last. It was a heavyweight. That's his biggest heavyweight fight. That's what you would go off of, common sense. So I thought that was a little abrasive.
Kevin just likes to pick at me. Go ahead, caller.
So, guys, you know, I'm going to say this. You know, Fury, I'm not particularly a Fury fan, but living in the East Coast, I don't mind the fight being in England. I actually prefer when a main event is happening in, Wembley or whatever, because in New York, where I'm at, I get to watch it without falling asleep. I don't know about you guys. And a lot of fight fans, like combat sports fans, whether it's UFC or boxing, they're like, you know, I feel bad for you guys on the East Coast because you got to stay up till 12 and 1 a.m. And, you know, how do you have a fight party when everybody's sleepy and drunk and they got to go back home? Like,
that's right.
You can't really have a fight party over here like that. So I don't mind the fight going to England. And another thing I want to say is, you know, Fury for all his antics. And once again, it has to do with a lot with how boxing media is conveyed these days. Every little thing makes a headline, and the way that I've learned to follow Fury is by not following him. When a fight date's announced, I tune in. I don't care about press conferences or ring walks. Like, to me, that's just a waste of time, man. I just want to hear the bell. Like David Diamante, like this. It's a big waste of time. The way people consume sports now is so different. You can't give them that much filler. You can't give, like, This Monday, we had Texas versus Texas Tech. I know you guys don't watch NCAA basketball. Maybe you do, but like, I don't have to wait. I don't have to wait on a Saturday night past midnight. So you get what I'm saying? So when people say boxing's dying, I don't think it'll ever die. But if you're going to restrict it to a Saturday evening and you put it behind a paywall and you want people to stay up late and you're really accommodating as far as television goes, the Pacific time, like, well, what do you want me to say, man? I have so many options now. I have a lot of options on my TV when it comes to enjoying sports entertainment.
No, you know what it is? Boxing's still treating the fan base like they still move like it was the 1980s, 1970s. They still treat like the product has absolutely gone down. There's no question asked. And almost every metric. The fights aren't happening when we want. I mean, there's great fights still to be had, but this is not the same sport. But they still are acting like it is. It's like the old guy they won't let go. It's like you guys that's like you just hit it on the head. That's a big deal. Putting fights behind paywalls and 1 o'clock in the morning. What the fuck kind of fuck you to fans is that?
Exactly.
Jimmy, let me tell you something. I saw the Ray Vargas versus O'Shaquie Foster fight, right? And like, I don't know at what I fell asleep through it. No, O'Shaquie was doing his thing. It was a hit and move. He was being elusive, but I fell asleep during the fight. And I was happy that this is the one of the few Showtime cards that's not a pay-per-view. And I watched it and I fell asleep. I woke up like, wait, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, I mean, one punch at a time. Come on, man. But you know what it is to do? It's true. You know what it is, though? You guys are talking about this. It's true. First of all, they would do these long-ass walkouts. And then all of a sudden, Beterbiev and Joe Smith last year, they had a short walkout, and they actually made a point to note that out, or to note that during the telecast. So somebody's listening. And the other thing is the wait between fights. I don't know who's editing over there at ESPN. I don't know who the producer is, whatever. They love to show their video packages. And it's always the same thing. Jared Anderson, every time he fights, they got to bring up his brother.
It's a lot of filler. It's a lot of filler, man.
Exactly. I don't want to see
filler. It's a lot of filler.
Exactly. It's like you're back at community college having to grade these, the videos that the graphic design that the students are making. I don't care. I want to watch the fights. I don't want to know if this guy knows how to use Adobe Premiere or Adobe fucking After Effects. Give me the fucking fights, please. That's all I ask. But anyway, man, we got to move on. But Kev, excuse me, sorry. Anything else you want to say before we move on? Fernando.
Yeah, man, they got to make stronger undercards. And, actually, Golden Boy puts on good cards. Like, I can't, people want to wish the demise of Golden Boy Promotions, but they actually put together decent top-to-bottom cards. A lot of, you can't make people watch some of these despicable undercards where it's like, it's so lopsided. I get it. Yeah, some of these younger fighters are being developed, but when it's that lopsided and you have casual people in your house trying to, how do you explain that to them? You're almost ashamed of yourself trying to explain them. Like you're always giving them a reason, like, okay, so, this prospect, he's coming up and, they got to give him some soft touches. And the casual person doesn't give a shit.
That's exactly right.
Those fights never made the pay-per-views back in the day. Or the HBO programming, because they had enough good fights that they didn't. Those things, like a kid, you didn't see a fighter on HBO until he was in his late 20 fights on average, and or even ESPN. I mean, you wouldn't put these guys still going 8 rounds because like you said, you're giving them fillers. You're giving them guys with upside down, fucking records, and then the narrative is how fast can he knock him out, opposed to these other guys. It's like, really, nobody wants to see that. That's not that's not a sporting event. That's like, let's see how quick we can put this dude in a concussive state. Some people don't look at that as like, casuals might. I totally agree with what you're saying.
Absolutely. Fernando brought up an excellent point.
Well, anyway, guys, so in conclusion, I don't mind the fight going to Wembley because at least the crowd is very active and it favors me because I get to watch it by between 8 and 9 p.m. I don't mind. As for all of Fury's antics, I don't mind because for me, the consumer, I'm happy.
There you go, man. That's Fernando's take. All right, well, listen, Fernando, thank you for your call.
Always a pleasure, guys. Great work.
Same to you, man. Same back at you. All right, take it easy out there, man. Yeah, they treat boxing like a Bavarian donut. A lot of filler. Let's go to 929 here.
Remember Fernando Sucre, BDA from Prison Break? That was a cool character, huh? Puerto Rican dude, Fernando Sucre.
All right, 929, you're on the air, 929.
The prison there.
I remember that. I slightly remember that show. I don't remember that character. 929, you're on the air, 929.
I used to watch that show, Prison Break. It was a cool show for a while, but that was a long time ago. It was like 03. But yeah, what's going on, BDA? It's Valo and Jimmy.
What's up, buddy?
I wanted to talk about this weekend's fights, man. Lara and Wood, man. I think Wood is probably going to be in for another thriller, man. Because Lara is somebody who doesn't really That's not somebody who does the sweet science all that well either. Not so much that Wood is also a good boxer either. He's when he gets into trouble, man. His only thing to do is just slug it out, get himself out of trouble, by throwing more. That's what he did against Conlon. But, I think he has the ability to slow things down, man. And I think he might be the smarter one going into this one. It's just a matter if he can land to the body and not just be a headhunter against Lara. Because Lara, even though he could take a punch, man, he could take a mean punch, man. He's weak to the body, that's a funny thing, man. You got guys who got like strong chains, like Argentinians, but then they got weak bodies. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this fight, man. But it's kind of a shame that Navarrete is not in that division no more. And I gotta kind of hold him accountable too, really. I know he's your boy, but I saw him there against Liam Wilson, man. He's like, he didn't look all that good, man. I think if he stays there, he might run into somebody that knows how to box. I'll say this: he's lucky that Shakur ain't there, man. Because I think he would have. He made him look. He probably would have made him look like he's on skates. And just because the guy's awkward doesn't mean that's good, man. I think it's more of a quirk than a talent, But dude's a tough fighter, man. He's rugged, but I think that style, man, it could get him caught with a big shot.
Well, Virtuoso, I'm not quite sure what you mean when you say Navarrete is my boy. I don't got any boys. I'm not a father here. But I do believe that Navarrete certainly has to take it serious. That's for sure, because he has not been taking his career seriously. If you watch, I don't know if you understand Spanish, but if you watch the Morales podcast that Navarrete was on a couple of months ago, last year, he sort of intimated he looked chunky too. And he's looked chunky outside the ring as well in other events. So he has to fucking take it seriously, man, because right now he's getting by based on his
he has to condition himself more.
Exactly. The timing was off.
Obviously. Yeah, you could tell he took that weight off in the sauna. That wasn't hard work, took that weight off. There was too much water between his skin and his muscle. And that's definitely a sign of a lot of saunas.
Yeah, but hey, listen, he pulled it off.
I don't mean that, and I don't mean, and listen, BDN, I don't mean no disrespect. I didn't mean to call him like your boy, like he's your son. I know you're a fan of him, right? That's what I meant.
I'm a fan of the guys that bring the heat, but I'm also a fan of people that take boxing seriously outside the ring. And Navarrete, I gotta tell you, man, it's not the first time we've seen him or I've heard of him not taking it seriously. So I can only respect the guy as much as he respects his career. So with Navarrete, yeah, you're absolutely right, though. He needs to. He didn't look all that green in the first couple of rounds, but then once he turned it on, Walsh or Liam, whatever his name was, he couldn't keep up. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope I hope Lara moves up, because that's the fight I want to see. Is Lara gets Bronco versus Vaquero, man. That's a damn good fight. That's a war.
Lara said earlier this week. Listen, Reynaldo Lopez isn't the guy that I'm worried about. It's fucking Navarrete. So apparently they're trying to. I think they're sparring partners though. They're stablemates, but they seem to be willing to fight if the price is right. So we'll see what happens with that one, man.
All right, man. Good talking to you guys, man.
Right back at you, Virtuoso. Thank you for your call. Call back next time, right, man?
Later, Virtuoso.
Take it easy out there. Shout out to John Gonzalez, by the way, for his contribution to the super chat. He says, haha, BDA is childless. All right, so now I'm being accused of being barren. I can't win. If I like a guy, he's my boy. And if I say, no, he's not my boy, I don't have any bullets in the chamber. I can't win with you fellas. I can't win. You know what? I got a good mind to go take a little break right now, because I've been holding it in for the past hour. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave you guys with an article for the next subject here, and then I'll go to the piss room and take care of business. I call it the piss room now, because Joe rebuked me for saying I got to go wee-wee. So now I got to call it the piss room. That's how low I got to go. The fucking piss room.
We should do the train too. That's what we used to call it in the army. Hey, can the cowboy tame the Bronco? Yeah, that'd be a crazy fight. But you know what? Navarrete seems kind of content, like with the monies that he's made. He seems bored with boxing. He seems like a guy that, he just probably made a brick house for his parents. He's got a house for himself and a little bit of money saved up, and he's all right, Not necessarily maybe like a multimillionaire, maybe, I don't know. But he kind of seems like he keeps his money in a brown paper bag, under his bed or something. For some reason.
Yeah, I'm sure he's living in Mexico. It doesn't cost as much too, so yeah, you can live good if that's where we're still living.
We're talking about Navarrete.
Yeah, Navarrete. Because
Gonzalo's giving us his estimation of Navarrete's financial outlook.
Hey, but guys,
go ahead.
Before I leave you here, this is the thing that we wanted to talk. The next subject here, fucking Wilder. According to Mike Coppinger, Wilder is part from the money PBC is offering. He's frustrated with the money the PBC is offering him to face Ruiz. And now Coppinger says it's unknown what kind of money Wilder hopes to get for fighting Ruiz, but it's safe to say that if he was counting on getting 20 million, he's dreaming because he's not one of the British heavyweights who get untold riches for their fights in England. That's the end of the quote. Apparently, there's rumor that he wants to take on fucking Ngannou for more money. So, guys, take it away. What do you guys think about this farce?
All right. Well, this is what I was about to say earlier. I know you're going to the bathroom, but right after going into the third fight, I said, if Wilder loses, he should pretty much retire. And I caught a lot of shit, especially on Twitter for that, but I've said it multiple times, especially after they fought. And here's why. I said they lost money on all his other fights. Ortiz, they paid him, that fight lost like $15 million, that pay-per-view. Showtime paid him $20 million for Brazil. This is why, guys. When DAZN was throwing around that crazy money, they offered Wilder $120 million. Lou DiBella, kind of pushed the deal. He got fired for it. All right. So now Hal Heyman, he's not a boxing guy. He doesn't really know what the fuck's going on because you can tell by the way he moves. But he turns around and says, okay, we got this dude. He's worth that kind of money. They're willing to pay him $120 million. Not realizing or not just being smart enough to realize that was all Joshua they're counting on, right, for bringing in that bank. So Wilder got this crazy money all of a sudden, the next three fights, because they had to do that because they talked him out of taking that 120. He still never got it all back. But anyways, so it was like they lost money on Ortiz, then they lost a ton of money. Showtime spent $20 million, and then he went to Fox, all his next pay-per-views while he was on Fox. So Showtime, that was it. I remember when fucking very seldom talks out against the PBC, but that was one of the subjects that Espinoza let me know that he was not happy about. That the fuck, they just paid him all that money. They lost a ton of money on that fight, probably much all of it, and he bolted the Fox pay-per-view. And I said after he lost to Fury, I said, guys, does anybody see this dude going back and fighting for $3 million, $3 million? And none of you guys, I don't think, I'm almost positive nobody on this panel here, but a lot of people calling up, oh, dude, that's crazy. He's not going to have the fight. They'll be paying him $10, $15 million to make the fight. And I was like, no, they won't. There's just, it doesn't. And then look what happens. They wouldn't even disclose the money he made against Alanis. What they did was, there was the one Sports Geek or something. They took an estimation of his last 3 or 4 fights, and from there they said probably got 20 million, which is just ridiculous. I believe Glacier said he heard it was just a shy over 2 million. Anyways, that pay-per-view sold 77,000. Now think about this. Why did the PBC co-sign? Rick Glacier was the first one to break that, said 77. Usually the PBC overinflates it. Why didn't they come out and say 200,000 like they've done? And Steven Espinoza just blew his own spot up, admitted Davis hasn't sold 3 of his fights that claimed to do over 200, didn't. And Espinoza did that this past week. But anyways, why didn't they do that for Wilder? Because they wanted him to see. They wanted him to see, and they wanted the public to see, listen, we're not going to offer you this money. And I said that was going to become a problem. They're not, because he's going to go in there fucking with his fur coats and his fucking diamonds and say, okay, what am I getting, 15 million because I'm not the champ? And they're like, no, dude, 2 million. And we're pulling the fucking hair out to make that happen. And that's why they pushed this. They didn't overinflate his pay-per-view numbers. That's the only fight they didn't do that with. And now all of a sudden after that, he's coming out and saying he's first statement was, we're not getting paid, we're not getting our money in time. And now it's straight up like, yeah, I'm not happy with the money they're offering. He's in there probably wanting 15, 20 million for Ruiz. And they're saying, no, dude, if you sell 500,000 pay-per-views, you'll get, 5 million. And he knows he's not going to sell that. So that's why he wants to fight an MMA guy. But that's my spiel on that, gentlemen. Who's next?
I'll jump in. KOK1 said something. I have not written the whole thing, but he's noting the fact that Wilder's going on 38. He should retire. And yeah, this is true. He didn't have a long amateur career, but the clean punches he's taken at the higher level against Ortiz in 2 fights, and the mugging he's gotten by a 270-pound man and Fury in 2 fights, the damage starts to last longer as you get older. I think it's time for him to realize the fact that he never was a draw. You guys remember Mark, right? Unrivaled. I was talking on Unrivaled show about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer, and he said, if I told you back in 1990 that you're going to have a 6'6", 220-pound guy who can knock anybody out and has like over a 95% knockout ratio, and is a world champion, and he can't sell out a small arena, would you have ever believed me? And I would have said no. He said, yeah, but that's what Wilder is. Wilder does not sell big crowds unless it's against Fury. I mean, it's just that simple. And Fury, like I said earlier with the Usyk thing, when it comes time to the money, Fury's the one selling that fight. Fury's the one that's putting it out there. Wilder doesn't sell anything. Just because he talks a big game and he can rap a bunch of words and he's all this, he doesn't sell. And it's obvious. His pay-per-views have been overhyped. They've been inflated. They've overpaid him. They said that a long time ago that they've overpaid him. And that's why Fox had to jump in. There was even an article written about that said, thank God for Fox for jumping at the last second because Showtime couldn't afford it. So these articles have been documented the fact that what Jimmy's saying isn't the case. So for some reason, he thinks because he had almost 10 title defenses, he has all these knockouts, he's still entitled to money. And boxing is you're hot today and not tomorrow. For perfect examples, look at Roy Jones. He could promote himself, but the second he had to start promoting other fighters, they didn't want to do business with him anymore because he's not hot. Neither's Wilder. You're not hot anymore. You're not the hot seller. You never really were. So if you can't make the money you want, then there's only one thing for you, the door, because you're not going to bring anything else. And the guys that are there, you can't beat. So what do you bring to the sport? What do you bring to the table that's making anyone say, okay, we got to put this guy in there and we got to pay him what he wants?
Well, that's the big question mark, because the reason I thought he came back was to solidify his name, because out of all those 10 title defenses, I think he only fought one mandatory. He never fought the guys that he needed to. When other guys beat him later, like Dillian White, he doesn't fight the up-and-comers like Herjavec. He don't want to fight Ruiz, a guy that could potentially give him problems. So really, what's his biggest claim to fame? The King Kong Ortiz? We saw King Kong Ortiz lose again, and what did King Kong Ortiz do himself? Tied with Tyson Fury? So really, man, he's pulling the wool over people's eyes, saying, people think he's like the second greatest heavyweight just because he lost to Fury. That's a big lie, man.
Gonzalo, the worst is when people... Yeah, Jimmy.
Well, yeah, think about that too. Ortiz is definitely his biggest win. This is the best to how they created this. Ortiz got the fucking nickname. Remember he was labeled the Boogeyman? Remember how he got that? He got that because Wilder wouldn't fight him. Before fucking Ortiz was with the fucking KO Boxing, right? Before he was signed with PBC. They tried to make the Wilder fight twice. Wilder wanted nothing to do with them. So that's how he got. So think about that. Wilder, avoids him, wants nothing to do with him. He gets labeled the Boogeyman, and then Wilder goes and finally fights him, gets stopped. And then if you look at it, the best win in his whole career was Bryant Jennings. So fucking who's Ortiz? It's just, it's a whole fucking grift, dude. It is a grift.
Klitschko leftover, and that's it.
Yeah, the worst is also when they bring up the fact, 10 title defenses. Or I don't know how many he had. I think about 10 or maybe a little bit under or over that. 10 title defenses. And you go, yeah, but who? Against who? I guess against the Polish guy that jumped into the straight right. Yeah, what was his name? Spilka.
Artur Spilka.
Yeah, he jumped into the right
that one
hand.
did such horrible ratings. That was the worst televised heavyweight, televised on free television rated fight in history.
I know. But
remember I said, dude,
but
Canadian Curling beat it.
I'm just talking about the fucking the resume. I mean, listen, we've been over this 100 times. It's over. We know his resume is trash. I just want to go back to what you're saying, Jimmy. But I want to go back to what you're saying about the ratings.
All right.
I hate to say it, but it's almost as if Wilder should have taken the Anthony Joshua fight when he was there for him 2-3 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Of course, he should have. That's why fucking Dum Dum got fired. He knew that was like, what do you mean? Why did I try to make the fight? They offered guaranteed $120 million, not a slice of a pay-per-view on a number that they can't achieve. Guaranteed. So nobody has lost their fighters more money and he's done that because here's the thing. The reason why there's the Ali Act, you can't be both manager and promoter, because remember, the promoter's allegiance and alliances will always be to his network. The network he works with always wants to do whatever's right by them. And obviously that's not in the fucking fighter's best interest. That's why there's the Ali Act, so that somebody doesn't do that. But that's the situation, and they're letting it slip all the time. In fact, Stephen Fulton this past week, he let out a fucking, when he was on with Brian Custer, he said, "Oh, see, Al Heyman allowing me to do it." It's like, so like, yeah, he said that, and this thing goes, he's always allowed me to do what I want. Why would your advisor have to allow you to do something? So you let it slip. Those guys are shill fucking promoters. He does everything, and that's the reason why Broner, $45 million left on the table. And now, did you hear what he said? The latest thing that came out yesterday with him, how things went with the PBC. He would get once a month $10,000 check, $10,000 a month later, and then it started going to $7,000, then to $5,000, $2,000, and at the end he was getting a check for $200, $700 a month from the PBC. And I know a lot of people say, well, he probably burnt through all his money. No, I don't believe that to be true at all.
You have to highlight the fact that was his money that they were giving him in increments. It's not like Heyman was giving him a stipend of his own money. No, that was Broner's money. That was his own money that he was getting in increments of $1,000.
How fair do you think that is, Mr. BDA? In court, he didn't know who his house was deeded to. Because the judge needed to know, according going to bond and to bailing, like, well, we're having an issue. We don't know who owns this house. And she was like, Mr. Broner, you don't know who owns your home? No. And he didn't know who his cars were registered to.
That's right.
He goes, it might be Al and my mother. So clearly, this is a dude who could be taken advantage of. And you're giving him money. Don't worry, we're going to hold on to it so you don't get hammered in taxes, and we'll give it to you in increments. He made enough money where I don't see fucking going through it all. But anyways,
Bray in the chat says that sounds like a slave deal. You know how everyone always in America now, they go like, oh, we gotta go trace our family tree to see if our ancestors own slaves. I guarantee if you trace Heyman's family tree, it's gonna harken back to rich Africans who were the ones that were kidnapping Africans and selling them to the Europeans, because that's the way this guy's operating. It's a slave deal through and through. But the fucking ghetto-ass Nimrods aren't calling him out because he's a brother. Now, here's the other thing I wanted to bring up here. And, by the way, this is when they finally get a check for $1,000. This is what the PBC fighters say. Listen to how elated they are. That's the same sound you made when you just benched 125 pounds.
Have you ever seen the one that guy goes, "Thank you, Al Heyman. I can quit my job now"? Have you ever seen that one? That guy from back in the day?
Yeah, I saw that one in Twitter. On Twitter,
that one's great.
I mean, it's disgusting, man. And
it's Walter. When Walter says when Walter's bitching about the money, is he talking about past money due, or is he talking about future?
No, money's for this fight. The money for what was offered for Ruiz was offensive. Like,
All right, we'll talk to Heyman then. He's in charge. He's in charge. He's the one that. Listen, he laundered money. He set up PBC as a fucking laundering operation so he could rip off pull an inside job against a hedge fund, right? So he's doing the same thing with Espinosa for all this time at Showtime. In essence, Espinosa's overpaying. He's probably kicking him back in some way. And when Espinosa finally gets cut loose from Showtime, if he ever does, he probably work for Heyman to get compensated for all this. This is Heyman's MO. He tends to take people that have a fiduciary duty to some kind of a financial institution or anybody who has a checkbook that's supposed to be acting on behalf of the network or the fund, and he tends to cut a deal with them where, why don't you, if you're going to leave anyway, why don't you just give me the farm and then I'll take care of you when you get cut loose. And he does the same thing to the fighters. So, in other words, every dollar that he paid these fighters, he took a percentage of. And if you look at his contract, they do have no choice. I mean, he's not an advisor; he's a manager, and he's not just a manager like at will, where you can let him go and change, go a different direction when you want. No, you're signed to him. I mean, that contract that got disclosed, I don't. It might not be the same for every single one of them, but I about guarantee that is the base. That's where we start with his advisory contract. That's about where it starts. That's the foundation of every one of them. It could be tweaked here and there, special cases, But now, when Wilder was getting way overpaid, the more Heyman got Espinosa to pay him, or Tom Brown to pay him, the more that Heyman made. So now he's bitching because he's coming to the reality that the numbers are not there anymore. In other words, I don't understand, man. It's just like, this is what I was saying before. This is what's going to happen. It's PBC has been done with. I don't care what the tag says. They're going to have to adjust their expectations on what they're going to get paid. The market is going to correct on they're going to get paid what they're worth, and he will fight again. Of course he'll fight again. He's not going to understand what you're saying about retiring and shots to the head. He didn't give a fuck. He's way, way too simple for that. And he's doing it for the money.
Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say, it's Peter, like you're saying, it's advantageous for fucking Heyman to pay Wilder ridiculous, overpay him. Like you said, like when he received $20 million from Showtime, guess who got 15% of that? Right off the top. Thank you. I'll take them in fucking stacks, 1,000, please. Like, so he doesn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? He doesn't care that the network's gonna, like, I'm sure everybody's like, you see pictures of Steven Espinoza. He looks like a cancer patient. He's so skinny. Everybody's like, oh, wow, he's really fucking dieting. That motherfucker can't hold his food down. Because every day he wakes up, fucking, is this the day they're going to blast me? Because he's never going to get another job like that. Because he lost a lot of money over there when they put him in charge of fucking sports media in 2019. Everything went downward.
I thought they said that the new update was that he was going to stay as president of sports for the new venue, but that he was going to have to report to other people. I think that's what Rick Glaser said on Twitter. Yeah,
Chris Murphy, he's going to have to report to the people under CBS. Well, I always thought he kind of was anyways. But but what's going to happen though? When they did their press release and they talked about it, they didn't mention boxing. They talked about shoulder programming, and they talked about their great series, because that's what it is. It's not a sports thing. And if you look, of course, they have armies of fucking Harvard accountants looking at those books where they're going to be looking to trim the fat. And when they look at boxing, and they're going to look at the atrocious ratings it pulled, especially in the fucking key demographic, like atrocious. They're going to say, we spent millions and millions of dollars for one night that we could have invested into a series that could have brought us so much more in revenue. Like, it's just, I'd be shocked if they continued boxing. And if they do, it'll be on a complete pay-per-view type situation. There'll be no budget. Like, I don't believe there's a budget now. Right now, I don't believe Showtime's even offering a budget, and that's why you see everything, even fights they've talked about are supposedly done, but there's no dates, no fight posters out, because I think they have to put everything on pay-per-view until they figure out what they're going to do.
Well, listen, just want to make... Go ahead,
BD, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
But, it's like what I've said a long time ago. Most networks have stopped subsidizing fights. Showtime was the last one that still did. But every time, and Jimmy, you said this yourself, so BDA, you asked, why are these guys only fighting once a year when you have a stable full of fighters? And they were trying to make it sound like they had this great business plan. Well, yeah, but everybody only had one fight. Why is it? Because that's the budget that they gave Al Heyman to work with. This is how much money we have now. Go make these fights. And so if you notice, almost all of them were in-house. Those that weren't were on pay-per-view. Even some of the ones that were still on pay-per-view. And it will go to something like that, because if they're not going to subsidize anything at all anymore, but they're going to keep it as part of the streaming, then it will be exactly that. It'll be like an ESPN Plus, except you may not be able to catch the free replay on your membership. You might have to only pay for it because they're not going to put any money forth. And that's one of the reasons why Spence Crawford hasn't been made. Nobody's investing into this fight. When De La Hoya and Mayweather fought, there was a pot of money already there because people knew they were going to get money back from the ticket and pay-per-view sales, where they guaranteed themselves. They either guaranteed themselves, De La Hoya took only leftover money, but guaranteed Mayweather somewhere around 10 that went up to 25, or guaranteed him 25 up front. But that was because the money was in a pot and already there because people invested into it. They aren't doing that with PBC. They aren't doing it with Showtime.
Well, listen, I mean, that whole PBC thing was called 2 years ago, but there's still people holding on, hoping against hope that this thing is supposedly doing money and making. I mean, come on, with the fact that you see guys like Charlo hasn't been active in 2 years, and then you got a guy like Jermell Charlo, who's the undisputed guy, and he's only fighting once a year. Doesn't that tell you something? And again, more ammunition for some of the things that people have been saying here on this channel. This Hitcherson, whatever his name is, who just recently fought, I believe, on the Zone, formerly with the PBC outfit. This is what he had to say about doing business with Eddie Hearn as opposed to doing business with Al Heyman.
Yeah, like Top Rank has ESPN, all right? Matchroom has the Zone, that's their network. Mayweather Promotions don't have Showtime. Al Heyman really has Showtime. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like Mayweather can't make their own main events and be like, oh, okay, like we're gonna make Richardson this main event. Like, you know, Top Rank can make a guy 12-0, 13-0 the main event if they want. So that was kind of like, I think that was the deal breaker with that. And after during the pandemic, it just slowed me down. And then things kind of took a turn. But I was just begging for activity, and I just didn't see it going that route. So I had to make the best move for me.
So again, is that one of the things that Matchroom is working on, just keeping you busy?
Yeah, in the contract, I think I'm promised 3 fights in 1 year. So that.
And listen, I don't want to make this a whole Matchroom versus PBC or who's better top rank match. But we're not degrading promotional entities, but it's, I mean, at the minimum, they're supposed to get these guys fights if they're good enough. If that's what they signed them for. The fucking PBC wasn't even doing that. So come on.
That's what I said last week. Remember, I said you're not giving them like X amount of fights a year, like every other promoter does.
Yeah, but in the beginning, look, if you're incentivizing their manager, if the more that these guys, if the more they get paid, and you're the promoter paying the money, the promotion's not allegiance is not to a network; it's to the show. It's to the promotion. The network is a source of income. The gate's a source of income. These are all, and then they pay out to these fighters. But if you set up a situation where, even if it's fraudulent, if you set up a situation where the promoters incentivize to pay as much as they can, nobody would operate like that. But as a manager, Heyman's going to have to turn to these guys and let them get hungrier and hungrier and bitch and moan. If a guy's got a career left, and maybe even if he doesn't, like Wilder, where there's only a few fights left, he's going to have to turn to these guys and say, look, your next fight, it's going to be on DAZN or it's going to be on ESPN. Here's the offer. This is what we're going to do. And if they say no, they sit, and then they sit, and then they sit, and then Wilder gets to be 38.5 and 39, and then coming up on 40, and then sooner or later they're going to take that money. And all you need for that is a cell phone. I mean, you can call it PBC if you want, but Heyman's nothing more than a manager. If you want to call him an advisor or whatever it is. And it's not going to be an Ali Act violation because the thing that brought on the Ali Act was a fighter bitching about getting ripped off. And that's really not what happened here. These guys probably made the same money they were going to make anyway, fighting once a year, as if they would have fought 3 times a year. So it's like, that's the way it was presented to the fighters. Look, Broner, you want to fight 3 times a year for $3 million, or you want to fight 1 time for $3 million? What do you want to do? Well, that's a no fucking brainer. I mean, they're going to take it. They're going to take less work for more money. That's you can't blame the fighters, I guess, but you know,
I'll blame everybody.
I blame everybody.
Is the PBC like a Ponzi scheme? Because I recall seeing some of them American Greed videos, and it sounds like it. You know, where you uncover a hole just to cover another one, a new one. So you go like that, you know.
Not really.
No.
But Wilder bitching out loud. This is the second time when they were trying to make Wilder and Ortiz, they were talking about each one of them $1 to $20 million, and I'm like, who the fuck are they saying this to? Who the fuck are they talking to? Like, they're both Heyman fighters. What does Heyman say? Hey, Ortiz wants $20 million, and then go over and pick another phone up and say, hey, Wilder wants $20 million. Who are you talking to, Tom Brown? You run the show, so just run the show. You know,
that's what
the problem is. Historically in boxing, you get paid more for the next fight than you did the last fight, right? Unless you lose. I mean, but even then, it's just, you can't artificially inflate a fighter's purse. And then once the artificial stimulus runs out, you can't really expect anybody else to pay $7 million just because you overpaid them last time by giving them $6 million. They're just worth what they're going to be worth. But Heyman's going to have to actually sit down with a guy like Wilder and let him get hungry and not desperate, but hungry enough and come to contact with reality to come back to the table, he'll fight again. I mean,
that's why he's going to fight that fucking Nagant, you know what I mean, the MMA guy. He'll go off and do something like that on a different promotion. Because listen, I can't stress enough the importance.
He'll still be the manager, though, Jim.
He'll still get his 15%.
That's
but
right.
yeah, it's not going to be under the course. So yeah, but it's not shit, I forgot fucking what I was going to say there. But yeah, no, Heyman, he's not only just like out of money. He's out of like even the network, like the hedge fund, and where he did like. Oh, I'm sorry. Also to Gonzalo, when you said Ponzi, no, a Ponzi scheme is where you get investors. You say, listen, give me your money, I'll invest it, and I'll pay you back 15% on your investment every year, which is ridiculous. Doesn't happen. Usually it's a sign. It's a Ponzi. So in the beginning, you get other people's money, you're making your payment to that dude. So the guy gives you $10 million, and you're paying him 15% on a monthly thing, and he gets it coming in. And then what happens in a Ponzi, when you run out of investors, it collapses. What he did was fraudulent. What he did was he took like fucking hedge fund money, was supposed to do all these things. Remember, if you go back, they had belts, they had all kinds of paraphernalia, stage. He invested all the stuff that never came to fruition. It all just faded away because that was the stuff he used to snag the hedge fund money. So my question is this: when they were in court and before of 2018, they said no. The judge, his lawyer Mike Hill told the judge that they had about 1 year left in their operating budget. I believe it was something like $83 million, and they had gotten 3/4 billion. You just add up the purses. You go back in those 3 years and you add up the purses, dude. It's not even a tenth of that money. So where did all that fucking money go? Okay, they had to buy network time, and that's another deal that's sketchy. But yeah, they had to buy, network time, the commercial time, all that stuff. But even then, there was no oversight. There was no oversight on the money. So, like Gonzalo said, Pete said he was paying fucking people off to do networks and shit. And I bet you a lot of that money went in overseas accounts, like in the Cayman Islands. Anyways, that's that.
Well, listen.
Yeah, go ahead, BD.
We're beating a dead horse here. Poor Al Heyman. He's like the fucking, Joe Pesci in Casino. He's like Joe Pesci at the end of the casino, man. It's over. Now, listen. I wanted to introduce something here. Because I've been reading on Twitter and other places, people are going, and of course, we did that video with Jimmy where we were talking about dispelling the myth that supposedly Lomachenko avoided Haney, even though people will still repeat that same line over and over. And I've heard that on Twitter, people are saying that Loma's still scared of him. Even on the Discord we were getting into, one person saying, I don't know if it's Haney, the one who's stalling negotiations, it could be Lomachenko. Well, this just came out a couple of days ago. It was on that show there, Max on Sports or whatever it's called, with Max Kellerman. And he was talking with Coppinger, and they said this about the fight. Listen to this.
Devin Haney and Vasily Lomachenko. Mike, it seems as though they're going to fight each other. So why hasn't that deal been closed yet?
Lomachenko did close his side of the deal, and Haney wasn't able to close his side. But I do think this one's actually going to be resolved in the coming days, if not next week at the latest. And that's going to be made in Las Vegas, probably at the end. ESPN pay-per-view for the Undisputed Lightweight Championship. I think it's an excellent fight. I think people are sleeping on Lomachenko, but you do have to favor Devin Haney. He's young.
All right, so then Max Kellerman talks about how, Haney is a bigger guy, Loma's going down. But again, just listen to this part.
Closed yet.
Lomachenko did close his side of the deal, and Haney wasn't able to close his side, but I do think this one's actually going to be resolved in the...
He thinks it's going to be resolved, and yet they're dragging their feet. Now listen. With Lopez and Haney, that fight wasn't going to happen because at that time Lopez was all over the place. The Lopezes, they didn't know what they wanted. All they knew that they wanted was more money, but they had no idea how to make that happen. So okay, I can understand why that fight didn't happen. But what I'm saying is we still saw the same back and forth between those guys, and nothing ever happened. Then with Haney with Kambosos, those negotiations were dragging on. Finally, Lomachenko said, "Hey, listen, whatever deal you want, I'll take it." Then Haney got shown up because of that. And he said, well, I'll take the same deal. Well, it's too late. Now, some people are going to say, yeah, but BDA, even though they drag negotiations, the fight still happened. Yeah, but listen to what I'm saying. It only happened because once Lomachenko accepted the deal, no frills, no thrills, he had to go to Ukraine. And that's the only reason why Haney got that fight. He was stalling his feet for that fight. And some people say, again, it's just a rumor, but the rumor is that his father didn't want the fight in Australia, which again, at the end, it made no difference. But that's how much they lack confidence, these guys. They don't want to do it. And now they're dragging feet with Lomachenko. First, they're throwing Bob Arum under the bus. They're saying that Bob Arum and Top Rank, or whoever's in charge fully of Top Rank right now, they want to sabotage us by making the fight in May as opposed to before, because then we got to go through Ramadan, this and that. So already they're going to the Lopez playbook and throwing their own promoter under the bus. And now they're haggling over money or something. Look, Loma accepted his part of the deal, meaning he's okay with the deal. He's not asking for more or less, whatever. He's accepted the deal. From what I understand, from what they see in that video, Haney's side, apparently, they're still asking for something. So, guys, what's going on here?
Well, it's the Ramadan. He needs to Ramadan in order to make weight or eat top ramen or something, because he's not going to eat fucking big.
You might be the funniest guy in the Philippines right now. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Well, Steve Kim actually reported that a week before Coppinger. He was on Ring, and he said it in his article on his with the snacks.com. He wrote that he was told that right away Lomachenko, and like always does that. He doesn't fuck around, no frills, just do it. And he signed it, so he was ready to go right off the rip. And so that was our thing. And to Coppinger's, but I feel it's going to happen. He also said the same thing every time he talked about Crawford Spence.
That's a good point.
He kept telling how close we were. It's within days, where it's going to be signed by the end of the week. 2 weeks later, it's going to be signed at the end of last week, but it hadn't happened yet. But they're close. He did that
exactly.
And he, to be honest with you, if memory serves, he did it a lot when it was AJ Usyk was going through their thing, and it's almost done, and then the judge overturned it. So I don't know what his sources are, and he's obviously got more sources than I do, but his sources aren't always right. So his gut feeling.
Not good. He doesn't have a good relationship with Top Rank. I just want to say that. Remember, because Bob, fuck you, get out of here. He told him to get out, and he had the fucking bouncers remove him, his bodyguards. Think about that, dude. That's after he was with ESPN. He basically threw the ESPN reporter out of there because he said that stupid, well, why don't you just pay him, Bob? Because he was like, because remember, he like boxing scene, like we just found out, and again, Steven Espinoza fucking up, going on Chicken Talk, that, it's a smaller YouTube thing, and he let slip that Giovanni Davis's second, this one against Hector Garcia didn't even sell 200,000, and it's his second biggest behind Rolly. So that means those other three fights that claimed at 225 and 230 and 240 was a lie. And it was a lie co-signed by Boxing Scene.
Yep.
But let's stick to the subject here.
Devin Haney's dad, he's real intuitive. I gotta give him that. But he's kind of like squirrely. I think he can't weasel his way out of this one. They're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. I know it's a fucking like cliche, but yeah, it's true, man. Because people are watching. Like the dude mentioned in the comment that BDA posted the clip. Lomachenko already agreed. The other guy hasn't. What excuse can they possibly give now that people are not going to take it as a fucking duck? Or what way can the people that defend the Haneys say that it's not a duck? You know what I mean?
I think it's built-in excuses on both sides, and I think it is because we know that Haney's having weight issues. He may hire a nutritionist. He may make weight pretty easily with the right parameters, but he's getting bigger, and you can see it through his shoulders all the time. And then Loma's getting for every ounce that Haney's getting bigger, every day Loma's getting older. So it's like they're giving built-in excuses for both sides of, one's trying to age one out, and the other one's trying to make it to pull on it farther so that this guy can't make weight. The only hole in that argument is that Loma's already signed the contract, so he's not trying to push anything any further.
But that's the thing, though.
It wasn't Bill, and Bill. It wasn't a rumor to BDA when BDA just said, "Rumor has it that Bill didn't want it." And dude, that's the first thing he did when the first time they mentioned that fight, that it was with him. That's what he said was absolutely not. Why does it have to be in Australia? At first he was like, "I'm not going to Australia." Then it was, "Why does it have to be?" When he realized he didn't have a choice, and then he hung on that narrative for a while, bro. So yeah, he didn't want to go there.
Interesting. But that's my thing, though, is how many times do we have to understand or hear from in the news that it's Haney's side that's always dragging their feet and not confident. They're clearly trepidatious. They're very boisterous about, well, Loma don't want it, Loma don't want it. But Loma goes in there as always, and he goes, yeah, whatever deal, as long as it's a respectable deal, I'll take it. He's not asking for the world. He's not asking for the moon. These other guys, who the fuck knows what they want, man? We want a double. And then the fact that Haney's complaining, bitching to Ring Magazine about how he's on the top pound for pound list, bitching about Top Rank not letting him fight before Ramadan, now dragging their feet.
They want to see me lose.
They want to see me lose. Exactly. So does that sound like
it's all out of the Mayweather playbook? It's all out of the Mayweather playbook. Back when Larry Merchant was still singing Mayweather's praise, Mayweather gets on the mic. I just want to thank all the people that believed in Floyd Mayweather when nobody else did. Nobody was doing that yet. He hadn't painted himself as the bad guy.
Exactly.
So he had to convince everyone that there was this false person making him out to be a bad guy that he really wasn't, to sell this image of it's him against the world. He's just the underdog, because he wasn't even the underdog against Corrales. When I went back and did my research, he was actually the favorite. So he always tries to make it look like everything's against him. And Haney's doing the same thing, thinking that he's going to turn into the next Mayweather. I'm not going to say he can't. I'm not, because I never thought Pernell Whitaker would make $6 million against De La Hoya, but he still ended up selling enough. But
I'm saying he's not going to be the next Mayweather. I'm telling you right off the bat.
No. Bottom line is, some people exceed what we think they're ever going to earn. Not necessarily to Mayweather.
Yeah, okay.
So
I get what you're saying.
No one ever saw Whitaker pulling down $6 million against De La Hoya, 5 against Chavez, and 3 against Trinidad. No one ever thought he'd get that much, because he couldn't sell out stadiums in his own hometown. But he made that much money, so he outsold his I will say his ability, but his marketability. I'll put it that way. Right. And so Haney might be trying to lay down the same groundwork to do the same thing.
All I say is this, man. I still can't believe that there's people out there that will root for Haney against Lomachenko. I mean, the guy Haney, if you're a boxing fan, you want to see guys that finalize deals and make the fights happen, no frills, no thrills. These guys, every time he negotiates, there's an issue. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, not every fight, but every big fight. And then on top of that, he bitches and moans. He complains about his own promoter, about how they want him to lose, against conspiracies all around, like Teofimo Lopez. And then on top of that, comments like, I would never let a white boy beat me, and so on and so forth. So again, I can't, if you're a Devin Haney fan, you like his personality, his character, I gotta tell you, man, I wouldn't want to associate with you. That's just a fact.
Mr. BDA, I would say, just look at your tweet. I don't know if that was you or Bucho who put together the collage of avatars of people saying really, yeah. And I don't know if you saw the response to that. It had a huge, over 300 likes and over 50 retweets, but a lot. You just look at the things. I mean, you had dudes on there saying this was dog whistling, and all he did was put the avatars of the people saying the most ridiculous things. And just because that 99% of them was a certain ethnicity, they were offended by that. Offended. You should. I mean, if you go and read that timeline, it'll blow your mind where some of these guys go with this.
Well, listen, I'm not a Twitter expert. I don't know everybody in the Twitter boxing community, but I've been in there, and I've been looking closely into our Twitter account for the past, I want to say 3-4 months, maybe more. So I'm getting familiar now with who's who, and some of the people that were commenting in that tweet have said far worse things. That way, like you said, it's just a photograph, and I've said this before. When people already have an image of you or a viewpoint about you, they will read into your comments things that aren't even there. But that's because that's their perception of you. Just like the same people that are always crying victimhood and pulling the race card, and there's racism everywhere, everybody's racing against me. It's because that's how they're seeing the world. Meanwhile, Mr. BDA is looking at the world through rose-colored glasses, because I've been blessed by the Spirit of the Lord. So all I'm saying is, and and I'm surrounded by good people like you fellas, so you try to keep a positive outlook. These people out there, they're in a whole other world. Everything's dirty for them. Everybody's against them.
And the reason why they go to the race thing, I'll tell you right now, it's just a hand grenade to them. They do that because, hey, I don't have to deal with him. He's a racist, because they can't. See, they can't call the show because what we say is racist or stupid or wrong. Call the show and tell us. Explain it. But they don't. So what they do, and because they can only bitch so long on Twitter about it, like blah, 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 and then people do tweet in, they're like, then step the fuck up, man. Call the show and tell them how they're wrong. Oh, fuck them, they're racist. See, that's their excuse. Like, I'm not going to give a racist a platform. But yet you're in their fucking mentions all the time, dude.
Exactly. And by the way, dog whistling, that's just a new, because they can't call anybody racist because they can't point to anything, like you said. So now it's about dog whistling. And I like how they also use the term, or misuse the term, subliminal. They go, oh, this guy's using subliminals. Subliminals refers to images. It refers to things, sounds and images that cannot be perceived by the conscious mind. It has not, I think the term they're going for is code words. But these motherfuckers, they just hear something and they just repeat it. That just goes to show you, they just hear something and they repeat it.
They called you fake Mexicans. Some guys were calling you fake Mexicans. Yeah, this is what you get from the fake Mexicans. Like, what the fuck does that mean? You weirdos.
I don't get it. What's a fake?
Like,
I'll tell you what, though.
You guys are making it about race, these fake Mexicans.
I'll tell you what, though. They're more fake Africans than I was born in Mexico. I grew up around Mexicans. These guys, they grew up in the United States. They're Afro-Anglos. So when they try to describe themselves as African Americans, I'm sorry to tell you, buddy, you're 300 years separated from the homeland. So anyway, listen, people don't even know what the heck we're talking about here about the tweet. So I wanted to do something.
I have no idea. I'm lost.
Yeah,
Twitter.
We have to move on to something else. We have to move on to other things because we're running out of time here.
What you mean? You gotta go take a piss, motherfucker.
No.
I got you. I really gotta take a piss. No, I really gotta go to the bathroom. Yeah, right. I got you. I know what you mean.
You're talking about you or you? Okay, I just got the joke.
Saying how people twist things around. It's like, all right, guys, I gotta go take a bathroom break. Yeah, I got you. I know. Bathroom break, white motherfucker.
I was gonna say that. All right, now Benavidez and Plant, it looks like they're gonna fight, and I wasn't able to comment on this, but long story short, I like the fact that they're going at it. It's what they had to do in the press conferences to sell the fight. I understand that. But I didn't really like the way the Benavidez went about it. I think they were trying too hard, especially Benavidez' father, Jose. I think they were trying a little bit too hard, and I don't think they need to. I think trash talking is all fine and good, but I think it sounded like they were the ones that were angry. Well, in any event, David Benavidez has this to say about the fight. Listen to this. He says, he says he wants to knock out Plant. And he said he's going to knock him out in 6 rounds. I'm predicting a 6-round knockout, he said, because I want to put a little more pressure on myself. When I put pressure on myself, the best comes out of me. I'm excited. I feel it. I feel that this is my moment, he said. He's scared. You can see it in his glassy eyes. All right, first of all, I want to go back to the first quote. When I put pressure on myself, the best comes out of me. First of all, that's a weird thing to say. I don't know, it sounded weird to me, the way he said it. When I put pressure in me, the best comes out of me. What's he talking about? An enema? Second of all, he said, you can see he's scared in his glassy eyes. He looked like he was about to cry. He has scared energy. I know when someone is scared. I've been doing this long enough. I beat the shit out of people, so I know when somebody's scared. All that fake shit acting like he's tough, he's stone cold. I know a scared person when I see one. I know he's scared of me. Now, Jimmy, I want to ask you something, because I still remember this. Before the Canelo versus Plant fight, we were talking off the air, and you said, yeah, I think Plant looks a little shook. He's in a big moment that he's never been in. I think he's overcompensating with his boorish behavior. In this scenario, do you see the same thing from Caleb Plant, or are we seeing that more from Benavidez, or not from anybody? Like, what's your take on this?
Well, I don't like a lot of the things Benavidez said. Like, you know what I mean? Just like he's put undue pressure on himself. Like in this way, he better go out there and fucking spark Plant out. After all that talk and all the shit he said about going up and he could beat fucking Bivol, he'd knock out Bivol. I mean, he said that just recently too. So like, if you go out there and this thing goes the distance, and even if he wins or a late stoppage, but he went life and death with Plant. That's not going to be, you know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah, just shut up, dude. But then again, you got to do your talking when you're not doing it in the ring. I mean, what else has he given us? He fought once last year against the 17-1 underdog Lemieux, a shell of Lemieux at that, who was a career 160-pounder. And then before that, it's like you just go back and these fights. Listen, I like the kid. He is a street fighter, without a doubt. He's the type of dude who'd be throwing hands even if he wasn't getting paid for it. But, you know what I mean, dude? You got to fucking do something in the ring, and you got to do it against guys. And I maybe he's read his clippings and his fan mail too hard, but he just put a lot of. You just haven't done it, dude. You haven't gone out there and taken someone like Plant out. I mean, you didn't take out Ronald Ellis or that other dude like that. You don't go out there and just throttle him down in 6 rounds, but you're going to do it to Plant? I don't know. I just think it's a lot of. And when somebody's saying shit like that, like talking above their abilities, at least their known abilities, there's a reason for it, whatever it is.
Yeah, because
I like Benavidez a lot, and I think he just hates Plant. He's just not a fan of Plant because Plant's got that. I I'm not privy to the pre-Canelo talk, but listen, Caleb Plant's just got that monotone, cool as a cucumber, nothing rattles him type of look, but he's a fucking shit talker when he actually does talk, and when he actually does, I guess, tweet or whatever the fuck, he the stuff that he says is obnoxious. He's fat, he's overweight, his titties, the coke, getting stripped. It's all these reasons that what does it got to do with you fighting him? What's it got to do with it? Because he does coke, you're not going to fight him? Because he got titties, you're not going to fight him? He's going to try to brutalize Caleb Plant, and he's tired of it. And I'm sure, Caleb Plant's the kind of guy that he's like an undercover type of shit stirrer. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
So when he got up on I'm sure this last press conference, I saw the majority of it. When he finally does get up on the podium, he's Mr. Like, I'm just going to do my fight. I'm going to fight my fight. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I've been watching this fight for a long time. Yeah, right, dude. You're talking all this shit, and then you're going to get up there cool as a cucumber, and Benavidez is going to mouth off at him. Like Jimmy said, you put a microphone in the kid's face, he's going to say what's on his mind. And the thing about rising to pressure, maybe that's what he's trying to say, is that, look, I don't want to fight once a year, and I don't want to fight Lemieux. To me, I can get up for a fight that I want to fucking annihilate somebody. He's going to try to kill him, and I hope it doesn't go to the point where it's a little overboard. But I just don't know what Plant has to keep him off of him, even if he does.
Fuck it, let's see it.
Get overzealous,
Let's see if he goes too far. Let's see it, man. That's what it's all about, boxing. It's pushing the limit.
My thing is, I lost a lot of respect for him when he re-signed with Heyman. I just wanted to say that when he had an opportunity to finally flee, and he went back after talking all that shit. And then he goes back with fucking Lukowitz, who's never done anything for him. I'm like, okay, I'm done. But that was your excuse for never fighting anybody, is because you were stuck in a situation you want to be in, and then he just put himself back in it. So I'm like,
here's the thing, Jim. Lukowitz is irrelevant. It's Heyman. Heyman's his manager. He might still owe him money. They might still have some type of an arrangement together to where he re-signed. Honestly, he's got the best chance of making a fight with Canelo with Heyman. He has not much of a chance if he were to go to Top Rank, for instance.
Well,
it's going to be very difficult.
DAZN, he would have an unbelievable chance, because then he would be with the same promoter. You know what I mean?
But there's no going to DAZN. Your promoter taking you. He could sign with Matchroom. He could sign with Matchroom or De La Hoya, but De La Hoya still got to deal with Eddie Hearn. If you want to deal with DAZN, you got to go through Eddie Hearn. That's what they did since this whole.
Go sign with Matchroom. If you really wanted the Canelo fight, that's what I would have done.
If you want Canelo, you got to go through Eddie Hearn. Yes. If you want DAZN, you can sign with De La Hoya. But if the end goal is Canelo, then Eddie Hearn is the finish line, and you're right about that. You're right about that. But my thing with Benavidez is this: he won a version of the title when he was 20 years old, and the sky looked like the limit to him. He's past his mid-20s now, and he hasn't won he's lost the title twice due to outside of the ring distractions, and he hasn't really put himself in position to win the belt again yet. Whether it's signing with someone or not fighting often enough or fighting poor competition, it really doesn't matter. The bottom line is whoever's helping him make his decisions in life are not pointing him in the right direction. And then as a grown man at 26, he's not making these decisions. And now I think he has all the talent in the world, and I really like his style. But I feel not one bit of sympathy for him based off of the fact that everything that is going wrong for him is self-induced. Every last bit of it is self-induced. And for someone to take such talent that he's got and waste it by being stupid and not even listening to any ounce of wisdom around you, if you have any, then I don't feel sorry for you. There's got to be someone that's whispering in his ear saying, hey, look, you need to stay in the gym. Hey, you might want to bitch when you're on TV saying you want more fights because they're not, these people aren't living up to their contractual agreements. You might as well do something to make it look like it's anyone's fault other than your own, which he's not doing. One other thing, one thing real quick that I'll close with. When it comes to this fight, it reminds me of Obakar at the welterweight division. Got knocked out by Trinidad. Then he went to fight Corte. My buddy Clay said, you know what? When he fights Corte's got to knock him out at least in 5 rounds to really make a statement that he did better than Trinidad, and he didn't. It went the distance. Benavidez needs to put a statement on better than what Canelo did in order to really make a statement. I'm done.
That's a good point, man.
I don't see what he's made. Early 20s kid shit you do when you're in your 20s that you learn from. I think his dad's a pretty level-headed guy. I got no problem with it. They're tired of Caleb Plant.
He said some things that were kind of fishy when it comes to his younger protege, the dude that lost against Santos de los Santos. One thing, they seem kind of classless, man. When they're running at the mouth, they leave nothing to the imagination. They leave nothing because that would expect that from Benavidez, And there's even a way how to go about talking shit, dude. That comes out like running his mouth like he was a drunk dude talking to some guy in the corner. Like, man, you ain't scaring anybody. And like the other guy, yeah, he says all the right things. David Benavidez, like, y'all beat this guy, I'll beat that guy, and whatever. But at the same time, it's like you hear it all the time that it loses the. Like that what's it called, the mystique, they leave nothing to the imagination, and it comes down for me to this. What are you working in the gym? What is your fucking game plan? Because we know what you do well, and this guy's preparing for you to throw that fucking 19 punch combination that you throw against Porky Benavidez, just to exaggerate an example, to put it in the people's minds. But you got to bring your A game in. You got to do something a little different because that guy's preparing for that. What are you working in the gym to absolutely win this fight? Because you put yourself in a tough spot that you have to win. Because if you lose, you talked all that shit.
You know what, Gonzalo? That's an excellent point. But
they both talked all that shit, though.
Before, well, hold on. We're going to go back to this, and I want to ask Gonzalo a question too. Remind me to do that. But I got to go take a phone call because the phone lines are about to close here. So let's go to the phone lines here. Let's go to 470. 470, you're on the air. 470. What's your reminder? Who?
What up, y'all can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, man.
What's up? It's Never Sober from the Discord.
Oh!
I wanted to jump on and I wanted to talk to you guys about how you guys were mentioning how they're acting at the press conference.
Sure.
And this guy, David Benavidez, he seems to be acting a little bit out of character. He usually seems like a low-energy kind of dude. And I don't know what it is about Caleb Plant that he got like a smug face, or he just knows what to say to people to get on their nerves. And I feel like David Benavidez is acting with like genuine emotion, like anger, but he kind of doesn't know how to deal with it other than fighting, maybe. So it's coming out kind of goofy. Like if you see his older brother, his big little brother, Jose Benavidez, that fool, he's always running his mouth, and he's like, when he talks shit, he sounds cringy too. He sounds like straight out of Blood In, Blood Out. Like he sounds like a goofball, So, so I think like David, when he's trying to talk shit, it kind of comes out the same. Like he doesn't really know how to talk shit,
Mm-hmm. I agree,
and
man.
I think with Caleb Plant.
Go ahead, Never Sober. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say with I think like I think Gonzalo said it, that they're kind of classless when they start running their mouths. The whole thing, Caleb Plant brought it up during the press conference. He said that they brought up his daughter, and that's like going too far. And he didn't want to say specifically what he said, but he said, that's the wrong thing to do. And then Jose Benavidez tried to defend himself on what he said, and he didn't get into it specifically. He just said, "Hey, I looked it up. Okay, so I know what I'm talking about." And I think what he said was he was accusing Caleb Plant of using his daughter that passed away, her name, like for clout in a way, saying, "Oh, I told her I was going to win her the belt," and this and that. When he fought Uzataki, I remember hearing about that. And I think the reason why Jose Benavidez Sr. was running his mouth about it, I mean, that's kind of like, that's like very low class to do that shit. Caleb Plant's ex-wife, his baby mama of the daughter that passed, she came out in an interview and she kind of accused him of that. She was saying that he acted funny around the pregnancy. And then when she had the baby and she was sick, it was more important for him to go to amateur tournaments, that his father told him that, and he kind of chose boxing over his family in that moment. And that's what, that she kind of felt, she felt some type of way when he was using her. He said she was accusing her of using her as a prop, to get more famous and shit as he got his belt. But it's like, whether that's true or not, if it's just, angry baby mama, I don't know, bro. But that's what I think Jose Benavidez Sr. was referring to when he tried to talk some shit about him,
Well, I just want to say, too, what happened, too, was part of his wife. he involved his wife when he was using my dead daughter, and it was showing him with his wife in the pictures, like at the graveyard and stuff. And what happened was, the rumor is that while that was transpiring, he was banging the chick from the PBC who he just ended up marrying. You know the girl there who does the fucking commentary for PBC? What's that?
You said the girl he's married to right now, he was getting involved with her while that was happening with his...
Yes, because she was working at the PBC. Yes, she was working with the PBC, so she had access to him. And the rumor is, well, she was playing, fucking, I'm doing this for my daughter and my family and his wife, and the whole time he was fucking stooping the bimbo over at Showtime PBC.
Oh, that's spicy, bro.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, that's very
true.
spicy.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's a he says, she said type thing, though. Like, you're listening to what. It goes both ways. It goes three ways. It goes from Caleb Plant said, well, they said this about me. Then Jose Benavidez says, no, he said this. Then he goes back to the wife. But then again, the ex-wife, who knows if she's lying. So all I know is they're all pricks at the end of the day. Caleb Plant,
they're pissed off with each other, right? There's bad blood here, Mr. BDA. I mean, there's bad blood here. They don't like, Benavidez does not like this motherfucker. He doesn't, he's a young kid. He gets, a kid like that who's hot-headed, he's probably miserable right now. He's in the middle of a cut or whatever. And a guy like that, you agitate. I mean, you put him on tilt. That's what you try to do. And that's what they're doing, especially when a guy like Plant, what he said is on record. He types it. He doesn't like say it or he said, she said. No, he says it about the titties and the cocaine and the eating and the weight and the getting stripped and all this bullshit, right? And
he's got a point about the titties.
He says all this. Huh?
He's got a point about the titties. He shouldn't have titties, man. Come on now. Professional athlete.
All right, talk your shit. Talk your shit. Okay, talk your shit. But when I get in the ring with you, I'm gonna fucking try to kill you. And I hope he really does. I hope he caves him in. But when he gets on the microphone at the press conference, where I'm sure Caleb Plant's got no control over like the backstory they put to him. They ask him about this story or they ask his dad or whatever. And yeah, they're trying to put together a production. So maybe it wasn't in his control about, I'm doing this for my dad. Okay, maybe that was just they put it together. He's just there to fight. But maybe they told him at the press conference, you guys mix it up a little bit. It's a pay-per-view.
Sure.
And so when Caleb Plant gets up there after all this, and he's up there, I just think I'm going to do my best. I think I'm going to win, and I'm going to be prepared with this low mumble talking bullshit. Benavidez has been trying to get a fight with this guy for years. So you know what? It's like, I don't care who's fucking who, but people like this, it always catches up to them. And when it does, they're the good guy. Right, they're the good guy after all this.
I got to push back on one thing though, Pete. It's actually the other way around. In 2019, it was Caleb Plant when he won his title, and Benavidez had his. It was Caleb Plant, who put out an offer. Actually, sent out an offer sheet, and Sam Lukowitz.
What offer? Heyman to Heyman? Heyman sent it to Heyman?
Listen, it doesn't go like that. You have to first go through his manager. No, it's Heyman's going to decide who fights, how they get paid, all that shit. But if you're going to talk to Benavidez, the first thing you have to do is bring an offer to his manager, which will be Sam Lukowitz. Then Sam will go to Heyman.
No, Lukowitz is his promoter.
Lukowitz is his manager. He's managed to by Lukowitz. That's who handles him. And he paid, like he said it. He's like, no, it goes through me. And he said no. It never went as far because maybe he was trying to shield Heyman, but he said it didn't have to go that far. He put poo-pooed on it right away. He said he wanted the negotiations, according to Sam Lukowitz, to fight Plant had to start at $7 million. And since they were worlds apart, is what he said, we need to let this fight marinate. And what happened in the interim, they both lost the fucking belts. One to Canelo and one to the Skill.
Anytime two Heyman fighters are pissed off and they want to not extort. Anytime they're trying to talk through the media, anytime they're trying to talk under the table, if you play cards, table talking, anytime they're trying to talk through the press and it's two Heyman fighters, it's just like Wilder and Ortiz from before. Or Ortiz wants 20 million and Wilder wants 20 from who? They're both Heyman fighters. No, Lukowitz might jump in. Hold on. Just hold on. Lukowitz might get in the press since Al Heyman doesn't. Lukowitz might get in the press and say it doesn't stop. We want minimum $27 million. It doesn't go any further than that. They're saying that for Al Heyman to Showtime. That's what that is. That I don't.
I understand that, but it was still Lukowicz. But Lukowicz still admitted. But he still admitted they made an offer. It was planned to approach them. Like he said that in the interview. That's the basis of what I'm saying. It was planned to reach out, said, let's make this fight. It was Lukowicz who said in the interview that this fight that we're nowhere near, we're worlds apart at the money right now. So we need this fight to marinate. That was coming out of Lukowicz's mouth. So whatever way it's streamed to him, he's not denying. Like if it was like hearsay and this saying that, he would have said something totally different. Like, oh, we're gonna get an offer from him. What's he talking about? We want to fight him. No, he said yes, they reached out, but the money right now is nowhere near. We're worlds apart. Exactly what he said. Quote. But that's neither here nor there because I know Benavidez would have batted him.
Lukowicz is not standing down Al Heyman. He's not saying that to Heyman or Plant. They are saying that to Showtime.
All right, hold on. Before we continue on that, Never Sober, thank you for opening up the can of worms. I didn't even know it existed. You showed me a new can of worms to open, and that was fantastic. But we do have to go, man. We got another last call. We got to take her. So anything else you want to say before we move on?
I was going to say, I think Caleb Plant is really getting underneath David Benavidez's skin, and I think it's going to make David really reckless. And I think it's going to be a really good fight. And I think, I guess David gets him out of 9. And I like David, bro, but his dad is really fucking abrasive, bro. I can't stand him.
Is it also the thing? All right, well, listen, we'll talk later, right? Never Sober. Thank you for your call, man.
All right, yeah.
All right, take it easy. All right, let's go to the final call of the night, and we're going to get that annoying message on top. There are 6 minutes, 5 minutes. 562, you're on the air, 562. What's in your mind?
Yo, what's up, BDA? Best show in boxing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, man, you covered a lot today. But the biggest one, I think, is Benavidez Plant. I really love this fight. I'm going to sound like a Canelo fanboy, but, I mean, this just goes to show the reach and the power that Canelo has. We wouldn't be getting this fight if Canelo didn't put the pressure on him. And as far as Benavidez Plant, I think Benavidez stops him, but he needs to make a statement. And even if he does beat Plant, that doesn't guarantee him a shot because, it's going to be Canelo's leftovers.
That's
and then I wanted to just touch on the Haney-Loma thing.
Right.
So what do you think about that? That even if Benavidez wins, it's still Canelo's leftovers.
Some people are going to say that. Some people are going to say that.
Absolutely.
I disagree because, Plant hasn't looked... If he would have been shot, he would have shown it against Dirrell, even though Dirrell's 38 years old. But that's how, shot people look bad against old guys. And he didn't look bad. So I don't think he's shot, but it is interesting that the Benavidez hardcore fans are going to say, whoa, look at that. Like Jimmy said, he has to look impressive against Plant and do it better than what Canelo did. Otherwise, for all the talking he was doing and his fans were doing and propping him up, it's going to be disappointing. But it won't be, I wouldn't say that Plant are his leftovers. Or is his leftovers.
But to the caller's point, a lot of people are saying that, though. A lot of people are like, even Ring IQ and a bunch of his guys, like, the fight just doesn't mean as much anymore because it's not a title fight and, Plant has already lost. But that kind of goes to say it. If they both still had their titles and they were both undefeated, of course a fight would have had more magnitude.
Yeah.
But the fact it's pay-per-view is a fucking total insult.
Well, go ahead, caller.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because this fight legitimately should have happened before. So all of David's trash is null and void against Canelo because he blew it. But I you guys didn't even talk about the biggest news, which is Berlanga, and I like that fight better than this fight. But I'll go after this was Loma and Haney, and I had called it that Haney's going to find some way to get out of this, and I hope Loma gets a shot. I think he wins, and I'd rather Loma win because I think he'd be more apt to take on Shakur or some of the other big names. So, yeah, great show, man. And I'll just take your opinions off air. Thank you.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you. Good call, man. Good call. Thank you for your call. Call back next time, right, man? Take it easy out there.
For sure.
Yeah, okay, well,
good call.
Real quick, because I want to let you guys, I don't know if Pete and Jimmy wanted to keep going at it. And I wanted to ask a Gonzalo question about the fucking bus. So we got a lot to get to here before we leave. Just hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Really helps us out. I was gonna say about that the Plant fight. Yeah, listen, the Caleb Plant fight versus Benavidez. Some people are saying, well, it's not a lot of people, by the way, but some people are saying, well, it's good that it's happening now because they're bigger names. I disagree with that. I don't think they're that much bigger. First of all, it's going to be on pay-per-view, so it's going to be restricted viewership. If it would have happened 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever it should have taken place, it could have been on Showtime. I guarantee you could have had more viewers. Both guys would have been undefeated. Yes, Caleb Plant wouldn't be as known as he is. He wouldn't have been as known then as he is now because of the Canelo fight. But much more famous is he really? How can you quantify that? How can you gauge that? So it should have happened before. It would have been better before. At least that way, the winner would have had a better case to get Canelo by saying, hey, look, I beat this guy, this undefeated, strong, heavy, hungry fighter, as opposed to like Benavidez, like some people are saying, if he beats Plant, well, okay, you beat Plant, but been there, done that. So it really is, the onus is on Benavidez to look impressive. And that's all I want to say about that.
The onus is on all these guys when they step in the ring to look impressive, right? I mean, that's the onus. You hope they all do.
To a certain degree.
It's a pretty good fight still, because if Benavidez wins, which a lot of people are hoping, then he kind of puts Canelo in the position where, hey, man, you got to fight me. You got to give me an opportunity. But if Plant wins, hey, man, he proved to us that he belongs, and all that stuff that he was calling for a rematch, now all of a sudden, hey, man, it's true. The guy did it. He earned himself like a fucking, whether Canelo will give it to him or not, I don't know. But I think right now, the fight, I think is equally as good. I think it's equally as good, because just because you lose one time doesn't make you nobody's leftovers if it's like a guy like Canelo. And if you hadn't fought Canelo, then you would have said, like, oh, he's largely untested. Who has he fought? So you could take it both ways. You could look at it from either side of the spectrum.
I agree.
Hey, by the way,
what's the loss?
Can I say something about that? Sorry. I have to interject. Sorry, because I missed two things. First of all, I missed a super chat from Vladdy V. Shout out to Vladdy V. He says, Mr. BDA, where is Mirage? He's an expert on the Benavidez subject. Great show, by the way. Well, shout out to Vladdy V for his contribution. Mirage doesn't want to have anything to do with us anymore. I think he took umbrage to the fact that we had to expel him from one show because he kept bringing up Benavidez for the 17th time. And I think at this point, he thinks of us the same way the philosopher Ortega Gasset said, abrasive motherfuckers. So I don't think he's coming back.
China haters.
We're China haters. I don't think anybody really missed it. Hey, by the way, I don't know how this caller got through. Caller got through even though the phone lines are closed. Hopefully it's not a ghost. Hopefully it's not a ghost. Let's see who it is. 706, you're on the air. 706, what's on your mind?
Oh. Hey,
706.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, man. What's up?
Hey, what's up? So, as you know, I don't know if you know BDA, I got into boxing when Canelo and Plant had that press conference, the whole slap.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but sure. I'm a Mexican that's writing for Caleb Plant after Listo Pelos Chingazos. Listo Pelos Chingazos.
Yeah, exactly. This is sincere, by the way.
He got all that raza with him, okay? So I'm taking on a lot of Mexicans that are going for Benavidez, and you know why I don't want Benavidez. But I think Plant steps up every time, man. He is that fucking wolf. He never backs down. He slapped Benavidez's brother at the gym and his fucking coach.
Because he's got that
what
dog.
What do you think about that?
Because he's got that dog. Yeah, that's what, he's got that dog, man. What do you guys think about that?
I agree. Now I'm getting an echo.
I mean, listen, Suits here. I understand what you.
I was going to. Well, Mr. I was going to say real quick before I forget. I agree with what you said, that it's more onus on David because he's using this to springboard into a Canelo fight. That's where he's going with this. Whereas Plant already lost to Canelo. There's obviously no talk of him fighting him again. So really, where does Plant go from here? So this is. Everybody knows that's what Benavidez wants is Canelo, and everyone knows that's who his fans want. All you have to do is go on Twitter and see that, for Christ's sakes. They just don't stop talking about it. So that's why, for that reason, he needs, out of the two, whoever wins, it's more that he looks better, because the better he looks, the more pressure it will be on Canelo. Like, he goes out and blows that dude out in 2 rounds. Then everybody's going to explode on Twitter. His detractors, this is why you don't want nothing to do with this killer, blah, blah, blah. So that's the reason why he wants to knock him out in 6 rounds, because Canelo didn't knock him out until 11.
You're not going to pressure Canelo into doing anything. I mean, he does what he wants. So I mean, there's no forcing him. I hope he doesn't keep begging for it.
But if that's what the fans are calling for, overwhelming. Remember,
Canelo
Twitter,
doesn't-
I know you're not on it, but that's the driving force behind boxing. That's what the sense is. And when you even start getting media starting to call for it, and they will, because it's already pretty much a rumbling. Like, I never wanted to tell Mirage was right, but there was a pretty big call for it. If he goes out and blows pant out, you know that will happen. Everybody
5 years
will be
ago,
calling for that fight.
Triple G,
Hey, hold on,
Triple G.
fellas. You're completely ignoring Soothsayer, who's still on the line. He managed to get through when the lines were closed. Go ahead, Soothsayer.
I'm not ignoring Soothsayer, man. He's my boy.
He's a hacker.
Hey, good night. Good night. Good night.
What's up,
I
brother?
think he's drunk. Soothsayer.
Do you work for Blog Talk Radio, Soothsayer?
He
just calls whenever he wants.
Listen, we're running short of time here, so Soothsayer, last thing before we go, man. What's up?
Okay. Last thing, man. I think more Mexicans need to support Plant, man. Mexicans for Plant. Woo!
All right. Shout out to you, Soothsayer. Thank you for your call, and thank you for being on good behavior today, man. All right, take it easy out there, man. There you go. Phone lines are closed. Phone lines are finally closed. All right, Jimmy and Scalebender, Pete, just go at it. What's going on here? Jimmy, you're saying the onus on Benavidez. Pete, you're saying
we're agreeing with each other. No, we're agreeing with each other.
Yeah, we're agreeing with each other. Even about the Heyman thing, what he said about Sam Lukowitz, I agree. What Pete was saying was right. At the end of the day, it's all smoke and mirrors. Heyman's the last and final call.
Right. Jimmy and I are able just to discuss things, so that's why I wasn't arguing. But I'm saying, like, just don't lose sight of that. And another thing to think about is, the biggest issue with Heyman. I tell you what, the biggest issue with Heyman for these fighters. Well, maybe not for these fighters because they got paid. They've already been paid pretty good. Now, the biggest issue with Heyman for these type of fighters, like a Plant and like a Benavidez, like a guy that's got the rest of his career left. The biggest issue is him negotiating package deals. So really it's for the manager to have the fighter's best interest, but really, how does Heyman represent? All I'll say is this: the reason that this fight has taken so long to happen is because you might think that Heyman was preserving Plant and Benavidez for Canelo. You see that? It might be such that he didn't want to let Plant defend against Benavidez, or Benavidez defend against Plant, or burn them out on each other before Canelo could fight one of them. Because once again, that probably is more money than a Plant Benavidez fight. So
look, Pete,
he's feeding these guys one by one to Canelo. Whoever Canelo wants to fight, Heyman's going to serve him up to him in that order.
You think Caleb Plant's a better fighter now than he was 2-3 years ago? I think he is. You think Benavidez is a better fighter now than maybe when he was 20, 21? I think he is. So now I think they're more towards their prime. Towards still, I like this fight because it's a competitive fight. Even though Caleb Plant lost, that dude carries a chip on his shoulder, and he's still very competitive.
I agree with you, Gonzalo. What you said before was right. The loss does not. I don't get involved with that. He lost. So, now he's worth less. Fuck that. He lost. So what?
Because you know, and I know that if Benavidez wants to win, he's gonna have to dig down deep to knock this dude out. To take him out. And same thing for Caleb Plant. He's got to really dig down deep to get past through that fucking insane fucking combination punching style that Benavidez got. Because he's a lot to deal with, man. He's big. He's a weight bully. That motherfucker's walking around like a cruiserweight, man. I kid you not. That's what I think.
He's going to be on his bike from the get-go. I'm just telling you, as far as the fight goes itself, aside from the bad blood and all this bullshit, it's a challenge for both of them. It is the best fight. We deserve the damn fight. We deserved it for fucking, like Jimmy said, and like Gonzalo said, 5 years now. Honestly, I think a guy like Canelo picking and choosing who he wants to fight can hold up an entire division like that. All right. But the thing about it is, in this fight here in particular, it's a 22-foot ring. That's as big as the ring can get. That's huge. That's like about 6 inches shy of the apron. Plant's going to be on his bike. He's got no fucking power. He's not going to be able to keep Benavidez off of him, so to speak. Can he cut the ring off and track this guy down is the question. I think he can do it. He's got him covered.
Well, we'll see what happens, man. I'm certainly intrigued by that. But I wanted to read a super chat here, first of all. Shout out to Medardo Garcia for his contribution with the super chat. And he says, what happened to Gervonta Davis? Is he still going to fight Garcia? We're going to talk about that before we go, Medardo. The fellas, don't remind me, please, to talk about what Medardo just brought up about the Tank Davis, because that's another story that took place while we were
wasn't the Fulton story. That's another one, too. I would have liked to talk. We might not have enough time, but what Fulton recently said.
We're running out of time, but I wanted to ask Gonzalo a quick. The same question I asked Jimmy. Like, when you see Caleb Plant and Benavidez going, his father too. He's crying. He's ready to cry. Does that sound a little desperate to you, Gonzalo? Or what do you make of the press conference or the dynamic that's going on between both fighters? Gonzalo, you there?
I'm part of the. In behalf of what the Benavidez is, I mean, the fight's already signed, sealed, and hopefully they deliver. But why does the dad keep saying, "Hey, hopefully you show up"? Hey, the guy's gonna show up, man. It just seems that everything that he says is like out of place. It's out of place. It's outdated. It's like these dudes are talking like he's talking shit like in the fucking 1980s, 1990s. Like it's like, dude, you ain't cool. You kind of make sense because we believe you. I mean, David Benavidez was a world champion, but your words are not matching like with what you what you expect from a fighter. I don't know that he's kind of like he's underselling himself, man. If he was popular, I mean, now it's like, okay, this is what you get, and is this who you want? The way he comports himself is like, come on, man. It's like, for real. This is what you're all about. This is what your dad's all about, man. As far as personality-wise and superstar potential, they really killed it. I mean, in a bad way. Hopefully, they deliver in the ring.
And the father and son contradicted themselves too. Remember, Gonzalo? He was saying one thing, and the father was saying something different.
Well, it's just they just seem real disingenuous. Like it doesn't really resonate with the people. He's even trying to speak more Spanish just to garner an audience. Like he also did it with the younger fighter that I mentioned that lost to the El Rayo Valenzuela. You could hear him like snickering, "Hey, tell him you're from Mexico, Viva Mexico." Like, shout it out for people to hear you, to gain more fans. It's like, come on, we can see through that shit, dude. Be about it. Don't fucking talk about it like that.
The trainer or the dad or the son? Be about
it. The dad. But you don't have to actually have to vocalize it for people to understand it. At least for other Mexicans, dude. You don't have to shout it out to the 7 Seas. For we can see that you're trying to do this on purpose. We know David Benavidez. He's a Chicano, half Ecuadorian, half Mexican, born in the United States. Okay, I get it. He's from a Mexican dad. But don't try to speak so much Spanish deliberately just to get on people's good graces. And there's a fine line where you can do it and be okay. But when you do it and people see why you're doing it, man, it's kind of like it's kind of like rubs people the wrong way, in my opinion.
I agree, man. I agree. I hate it when vatos start trying to talk in English. You know what I mean? No, I'm kidding. No, but listen,
hey, Cinderella, go find yourself a fella.
I speak Spanish, but you don't.
Bonafide.
I speak Spanish, but there's a time and place to speak Spanish. You don't just throw Spanish words around just because you want to sound ethnic or something. It's like, it reminds me of when sometimes they do it in movies, when you see characters that are Hispanic or whatever, and they're talking, and they're not talking Spanish, they're talking English. But then every once in a while they'll throw a word in there just to let the audience know, this guy's Mexican. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, if this is real life, they'd be talking Spanish. They wouldn't be talking Spanish. Anyway, that's my little pet peeve, and I agree wholeheartedly with Gonzalo's opinion about that. But listen, my problem with the trash talking wasn't that they were trash talking. Obviously, they're gonna trash talk. Like I said, they have to sell this fight. It's not exactly Canelo versus fucking Golovkin in here, but. Like Gonzalo said, there was a little bit of desperation there from Benavidez' side, from the fact that the father kept interrupting, saying, he wants to cry. I mean, come on, that's some high school shit right there. Not even.
I don't understand that part of it. I'm going to tell you, I've Mr. BDA, I can give you one more thing. I've been following Benavidez for a while, and his dad. His interviews have been real good. Not the press conferences, but the pulling him aside when he was at Garcia's gym. I thought it was pretty impressive that he was pretty real with it. It's about taking these kids across country on these tournaments, and they couldn't afford gasoline, and they it was a stretch, and trying to make it work. He seems to be like more of a fitness trainer, how do you want to call it, strength and conditioning guy, but taking a lot of notes from Sanchez and those guys sparring and all this. But he did say one time, he kind of mentioned something that he went to Plant's dad, approached him, pulled him aside, and said, "Hey, can you do me a favor and stop ragging on David right now because of the cocaine shit?" This is just what I remember. I just remember these things, not that I even paid it any weight, but he kind of just pulled him aside and said, "Could you please stop with the tweeting, I guess, and the social media about David Benavidez with coke all over his face? And, we crack jokes here. It's hilarious and shit." But I guess he went father to father. Can you just look, as a father, it's my son. I'm worried about him right now. Can you please just lay off of it? And he laid off of it for a couple of days and then eventually did it again. That's why he's pissed off with them. They're not public speakers.
Crossing the line anyways. Why
they're not public speakers. So you put a mic in their face and they just spouting off. But in the ring is really what matters.
Keep it about the fighting. Say I can do this because I saw you do this, or I can expose you here. I don't think you're tough. Like, why the fuck you bringing up his coke hat? You know what I mean? That's like low rent, I think, anyways. But that's Plant. That's what he does. He has a come fuck me, slap me face. He does. You can see it. He did the same thing to Canelo. Remember, Canelo smacked the glasses off his face. He's got that. Well, listen, I'll tell you what it is, and it might offend some people. He's got the wigger thing going on. That's what it is.
He's just
he grew up with all black dudes, and he's always has to be the fucking, the mouthy one. And you see it. If you see a white kid grow up, with a lot of black kids, they always have to be the loudest. They always want to stick out. And I would see it all the time, especially in the can when they would come in. Man, they usually got taught a lesson.
I never understood that. If you're white hanging around a bunch of black guys, you already stand out visually. You don't have to fucking be loud about it. I understand why he would have to do that. But yeah, I mean, there's that video of Caleb Plant in a basketball game somewhere in Kentucky or something. Remember that one, getting into a fight with a black guy, and then the black guy pretends to pull a knife for that. Yeah, so, I mean, Tennessee, yeah. Well, whatever. I mean, listen, those guys they're mountain people over there too, so you're going to expect some sort of trash talk. And look, I'm not saying Caleb Plant's an angel. At the end of the day, they both have their versions. Benavidez says, well, it's because he's been ragging on me. Meanwhile, Plant says, well, no, it's because he brought up my daughter. But at the same time, Plant didn't seem to have a problem when they brought up his daughter every time he would fight on PBC. I remember, speaking of video packages, all the time. It was him and Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman, they would always bring up Ben Gady. Remember that? Every time he would fight on the PBC, Ben Gady this, Ben Gady that. They would try to get him to cry too.
I think Charlo surviving cancer.
I think all this was started really, in my opinion. This is my opinion by Jose Benavidez Jr. He looks like the instigator. That's why I think he got shot. They call it he got capped in the knee. Basically, that's why he capped in the knee. Basically, you're fucking disabled now. You can't box. They did it on purpose. They didn't want to kill him. They just wanted to disable him. He looks like an instigator, like the little devil, little angel on one shoulder, little devil on the other. He ran
his mouth during the fight more than he fought. Remember when his last fight and he lost? He kept running his mouth during the fight. Like, dude, how about shutting the fuck up and fighting? So yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. You saw it in that fight. He's a mouth.
Yeah, back in the gym days, he probably would approach his dad, like, hey, look at this guy, man, like this, him and David, and just like a fucking devil, dude, like a little devil.
You mean he's going shoulder to shoulder? Literally?
Like he's got that same look. He's got that same fucking Benavidez Jr. Ain't no fucking angel, dude. That looks wicked, man.
Let's keep it
he
ethnic.
Started that shit.
Let's keep it ethnic. El Diablito. Let's do it in Spanish, just to prove to people that we're Mexican.
Plus, I don't like when the old man called into the show and fucking was on for like 3 minutes and goes, "Oh, I gotta go because there's another show I gotta talk to."
Yeah, you still remember that one, man? Yeah, he never. I mean, listen, it is what it is. He's a busy guy. But I wanted to say this though. Back to Medardo's Garcia's comment before we go, when he said, "What happened to Gervonta Davis? He's still gonna fight Garcia?" I think most people already saw the tweet that he's referring to, or I think he's referring to that he was in a wheelchair. Can somebody please explain to me what it is? Because he later made a video showing that his ankles were okay. But then that begs the question, why the fuck was he on a wheelchair? Was he shit-faced during the Super Bowl?
Which, I mean, probably so fucking drunk. Of course, dude. That's exactly what happened. I'll tell you, I bet my life, and I have no insight on this. But why would they put him in a wheelchair? Because he's so drunk in public, about to go on trial, didn't want to see him fucking kind of walking like a slob of people helping him walk. He probably got too fucking, because the Super Bowl, people tend to get rowdy, and we already know he does. So yeah, he was probably fucking wrecked. Who knows? Maybe he went into a fucking G-hole. You know what I mean? Maybe he drank a little too much fucking syrup. And, got a little, the fucking, what are they, with the cough syrup and shit. Who knows? Either way, he was fucked up, and they wanted to wheel him out. Oh, it's his ankle. Well, why is Davis in a fucking wheelchair? Oh, he rolled his ankle, and then 2 days later he sobers up, his hangover's done, and he gets on the fucking a bus or an airplane, and he's sitting there doing this fucking Macarena dance on his ankles. Look, my ankle's fine. Okay, then why were you in a wheelchair? You fucking half-wit.
Exactly.
I'm real sorry, but what? Wait. Let me just say one word. What? You talking about Gervonta Davis is in a wheelchair? Say it again, please.
Yes.
Let me see. Hold on. Let me see the
Super
photo.
Bowl. Okay, you do it
or maybe he's testing the people to see if it sticks. But based on their reaction, that no man, what the fuck? What's going on? He can't get away from it. Like, you're expected to fight.
All I said, Jimmy, I said I'm going to look for the photo. I wasn't in taking over.
Do your research. But so somebody just 10-second recap. What happened, please? I was taking a PP break, as PDA says.
He was fucked up at the Super Bowl and had to be wheeled out in a wheelchair. All right, and they said it was because he folded an ankle. All right, so 2 days after that, Davis, it was TMZ reported it, and he did it. He tweeted above the TMZ tweet, "Shut the fuck up." Not like, oh no, my ankle's fine. Shut the fuck up. Like,
Gervonta Davis was at the Super Bowl in Arizona, and they got footage of him or a photograph of him being wheelchaired out of the stadium.
To be honest, I don't know everything behind it. I just know that TMZ reported he was leaving wherever we were at, whether it was a Super Bowl party or at the Super Bowl. He had to be wheeled out in a wheelchair. His people claimed it was he rolled his ankle. So when you roll your ankle bad enough to you need a wheelchair, especially when you're 5'3", you're a little guy, and you roll it that bad that you can't put any weight on it, you wouldn't be doing a dance. Like literally, like he put his cell phone on the ground, Pete. So it just like it show his knees to the bottom of his feet, and he sat there rolling his ankles back and forth like he was doing some kind of dance to show. And he posted that above the TMZ tweet of them saying his ankle was fucked up. But it's like, okay, dude, so you just basically putting yourself on blast. So it wasn't an ankle. So, but you didn't say why you needed to be in a wheelchair, though, did you, dude?
He's fucked
Pete,
up.
Check the screen.
I'm looking at the picture.
Check the screen. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
He was wrecked, right? Don't you agree?
Yeah, he's wrecked. Yeah, he's fucked up.
But then that's interesting, though, because
go ahead, just read it.
Well, no, just like you guys said, the trial. He's got a trial coming up for fucking endangering people with a vehicle, and then he's showing up drunk in public.
Yeah, that could be anywhere. I don't know if that's a Super Bowl, but that's what happens when you break your ankle. I mean, I've rolled my ankle so bad I had to crawl home one time. I was in the middle of the woods, and I've had my ankle blown up before. You can walk on a torn ACL. You can walk when you're all fucked up, unless you're so out of whack. Like you get kicked off an airplane, or you're so intoxicated, like Jimmy's saying, he's on some kind of codeine, or he's just too wasted, blacking out. Then security will sit your ass in a wheelchair and escort you out on or off an airplane. It's standard procedure because they don't want you walking around, stumbling around, and
he's got that hollow stare, man. Like he's got a lot of problems. Maybe he's worried about Ryan Garcia, the court case. Maybe he's drinking in that bottle. Maybe he's got some alcohol.
Yeah, they
making it seem like it's water or
to
soda.
let him come too, Yeah,
And one of the fucking LDBC, I mean, one of the fucking PBC guys, that kid, Ray Jackson is his name. He tweets some pretty horrible, stupid shit too about like Crawford's wife, but that's neither here nor there. But so he tweeted out breaking news. Sources say that the fucking fight will be announced during a commercial break on the Super Bowl. Right away, I'm like, that's just stupid. Like, why would anybody even agree with that? Okay, so you're telling me a fight where they're like struggling for every dollar. Okay, a 30-second ad during the Super Bowl is $7 million. It's $14 million for a minute. So even if they did a fucking 30-second ad, it would have been $7 million. So I knew right there it was stupid. Would they have done it before or after? And what it comes down to is Ray Jackson with one of his famous sources. You know what he's done now? Now you get people, because Hammonites tweeted about it. He made a meme of the kid with like a clown on his nose and shit. And of course, people what, you believed him? Oh, so that's what it is. Now he's joking, but he's done it before. And what's happened, he just makes these stupid. The source is basically the voices in his head. Oh, my source told me, and then it's wishful thinking. And but yeah, so it's just ridiculous. I don't know.
People are that desperate on Twitter to get views and retweets and all that they're just willing not to flat out lie about what's going to happen. I mean, that's what I expect from Twitter. to tell you the truth.
I'm sure they're telling the listen. I'm sure they're telling the judge. I'm sure they're telling the judge all this to extend time and try to cut a deal with this victim. She wants to be paid. She wants to be compensated. There's no way he can come up with that kind of money unless he actually fights a decent fight for an actual revenue, for an actual gate, for an actual promoter. And so they're trying to buy time. The only thing that's even bringing this fight to even discussion is the fact that he's got this legal issues, and not just legal issues with a victim, a human victim. And I know Baltimore this and that and leniency and liberal, but when there's a human victim involved, the judges don't fuck around. They understand that no one cares that he's a boxer. But
the thing is, dude, they already kicked it down to misdemeanors. He's not even facing a felony.
How many misdemeanors are there? They can upcharge anytime they want, by the way.
They did initially charge him with felonies. Like they initially went to the grand jury and it was kicked down to a misdemeanor. So they can't now go back and change it now.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. They can amend the charge. Go ahead.
No, something like that, bro. They can't just go back and they can't just change it to a felony after they kick it down to a misdemeanor. The only one who would do that is the judge. And the judge already signed off on misdemeanors. So, yes, I'm sure that broad's going to sue the fight. Even if he's convicted of misdemeanors, that doesn't change the fact that he's going to have to pay those broads. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. He's going to pay that bitch, whether he gets convicted, whether the case gets thrown out. That's irrelevant because he did hit her. And he did fucking look her dead in the face when she asked for help, telling her, I'm pregnant, help me. And he fucking just turned and walked away like a monster. But that doesn't change. But
how many
14 misdemeanors?
Okay, 14-year first-degree misdemeanors. That's 365 days. So you want me to give you consecutive back-to-back fucking, you want to give you your 5 years on a felony? You want me to give you five years on 5 different misdemeanor counts? And then a year of probation
I know,
on each
but
one
that's not how it works. You know how that's not how it works in court. They never do that.
No. I'm telling you right now, they'll fucking whack you. They'll whack you.
The Judge Brown and the district attorneys like Justice Smollett. It's an African American lady. Put the papers.
It is. It's a Soros-backed fucking DA who believes in that justice.
Not when there's a human victim. It'll be the judges.
But all crime has a human victim, though, bro. If you really think about it, almost all violent crime has. I mean, I could sit here.
Violent crime.
Yeah, exactly. I could sit here and stout off fucking in last week. I mean, those 8 students who were killed in California. That guy was a convicted felon, and they kicked it down to a misdemeanor. He was able to literally. Why are you cutting me off, dude, with the Jim?
No.
I'm making a point. Whatever. I'm making a point about.
You're right.
I'm just saying. In California last week, 8 students were shot by a disgruntled black man who's 42 years old. He was arrested last year, multiple felonies. So the DA has him now, and it's on the books, right? That she had no even actually legal wiggle room because it was minimum mandatory. When you get caught as in a commission of a crime with an illegal carried handgun, that was supposed to be 2 years in prison and a felony. She kicked it down, a Soros down, and for this reason, it was because of racial justice that disproportionately affects blacks and brown people. So she kicked it down. When she kicked it down to a fucking to a misdemeanor, instantly changed everything. He went from no jail time, and then he was able to actually even go out and buy more handguns because he was just a misdemeanor, not a convicted felon. And then he turns around. This is the best part. His father petitioned the court. His father wrote the court and said, my son shouldn't have guns because he's very violent and he says a lot of stupid things, right? And the DA still kicked it down to misdemeanors, and then he went and executed a bunch of people at the college the other day. But it's happening all over the country with these progressive Soros-backed DAs. They're kicking everything down so nobody's getting jail time. And I'm just saying, that's the victim. What you're saying, you're right. That woman's getting paid. She's looking at the fucking probably $1 million. She had a deep cut in her face, like they said. That's what women get paid, by the way, cosmetically. If they get a big cut in their face, they can get big money on that. He says, huge money. So whether he goes to jail, that's irrelevant to her getting paid. That bitch is getting paid, and rightfully so.
First of all, I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't know if you
I know, dude.
Or not, because I got these headset on, but I didn't mean to I would not cut you off on purpose. I don't know about the situation with the gun crime, but as far as the victim, I'm assuming is black. She's pregnant, and listen, it's a moral. It's a crime. It's a crime of it's just against general humanity to get into a wreck and to run off like that. You leave the scene of an accident, that's one thing. You leave the scene of an accident while you're DUI, that's another thing. You have a DUI and a wreck while you're DUI, that's another thing. You have a great permanent, you have a accident with injuries and you leave it, that's a fucking worse thing. She's pregnant, that's worse. So I heard the show last time about his upbringing and all this. It's got nothing to do with your morality as a person, as a human being. You fucked up, you ran a red light, whatever you did. Dude, it's not a fist fight. It's not shit got too far between two guys that were drinking. It's not a psychopath with a gun. None of that shit. It's a human being and she's pregnant. And even though, honestly, even though they broke it down to whatever, I'm just trying to tell you, if the community like that is watching, it's not about racial. They're both black. It's about a guy they're going to consider him to have means. You know what I'm trying to say? They're going to consider him to be above the law. If you can get away with that, no judge is going to fucking do it. I mean, they're up for election. They get elected up there. Well, so I can't favor this guy over that guy. He's got money. If she doesn't show up, it's a different story. Sorry,
with
go ahead,
that,
media.
all that
Didn't mean
being
to cut you
said,
off,
look, Tank Davis, all he needs to do really, I mean, if he was smart, he'd hook up with my mentor and attorney, Raphael Shapiro.
Shapiro.
Yeah, proper. That's all you got to say now in court. Proper. I want to represent myself proper. Go at the judge.
Accept for value, exchange your value.
Exactly, yeah. So just make a circus out of it. Maybe you'll get out of it. I don't know. But look.
Yeah.
With that being said, though, fellas, we do have to move on. We've been on for 3.5 hours. But we covered a lot, man. The only thing I wanted to cover, like Jimmy said.
We got to save the Fulton thing, though. We got to talk about that
Yeah,
next
I know,
show.
man. I wanted to talk about
the
that. I
spin
wanted to
they're
talk
putting
about
on that is unbelievable.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about the Catterall. Apparently he's getting pushed aside now. It's going to be Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez, the fight that they all wanted 2 years ago. I mean, it's insane, man. But we'll be back. And listen, we're going to have some. I think we're going to have some good material after the Wood versus Lara fight. That's going to be a good one. And if it's not, we still get Hovhannisyan versus Nery that same day on the zone as well. So it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. So I want to give a big old shout out to everybody that joined us here on the panel. Jimmy, Gonzalo, Pete, Chief was also here. Bucho was here for a while as well. Shout out to Bucho. And shout out to everybody that called, everybody that donated the super chat, everybody that is part of the membership program, and of course everybody that listened and hit the like. You guys are the best. Shout out to you fellas. I'm talking about the Quags, One Foot at the Door, Eparokua, Nes Mendoza, Sam Rando, Logic, Timothy Figueroa, Eddie Valenzuela, Lil Joto, CR, Rapax Trucking Company in the house, Mr. Dog, everybody, Puro Sur, you guys know who you are. Shout out to you fellas. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Catch you on the next one, fellas. Take it easy.
I'm disappointed in everyone.